Whoa. Hello, my friends. Welcome to our call-in show. This is our Thursday night tradition. We missed last week. Sorry about that. Seeing all of you out there kind of joining in slowly, kind of trickling in. I took my time setting this thing up tonight, so we're going to be a little bit behind the curve. I got some tunes that I brought. There's some lo-fi, what are they called? Lo-fi essentials. So the phone line is open for those of you that are subscribers. If you guys don't know how this works, the way that it sets up is if you're a member of one of our subscriber channels, and you can do that on X, you can do it on YouTube. If you're part of the channel membership over there, we appreciate the several folks that have started doing that. We've kind of started building up our YouTube audience of late. And then all of our favorites over on Rumble and Locals. This is where you guys can sign up and have access to the phone line, which we change every month. This is your call. This is your show. This is what it's for. It's not for me. I just do it because I hang out with you all. I got these lo-fi beats. I want to give them a shot because I wanted to see if I could leave them in the background while we're talking because I think it might be kind of relaxing because it's been kind of a long day. I've been sitting here at the editing desk, which is the same as the podcast desk, it turns out. And yeah, just busting my ass, putting together a very kind of intense interview that we did with a guy named Shamgar Connors who reached out to me at the end of last week, and he was like, "Hey, is the interview going live?" And I said, "Well, it's not till next week. I've got Tim Kennedy up," and he goes, "I'm in the hospital right now, and I could die." And so that's kind of intense. So with that in mind, I realized I better get the damn thing out and get to work, and so I did. And yeah, that was the nature of the beast. So we're gonna turn on some quiet tunes in the background and kind of set the tone. And I think they're going to stay on all of them. You guys will have to let me know if you also hear the tunes in the background. It'll be like sitting in a lounge. In any case, the phone line is open. It's the 818 phone number that we couldn't get to work last week. I figured out what it was. I had the notifications turned off for myself because it was a little setting in there I didn't realize. So we are available. I see all of you over on Locals that are already in there if you guys want to get in. We're doing an interesting little experiment with Restream right now as well, where Restream is our streaming software. So everybody that's over on YouTube, you guys can actively see the chat that's happening for our friends over on Rumble. But Rumble, you're not going to get YouTube. It's unfortunate, but that's just the nature of the beast. We don't have the ability to make that happen because the software hasn't caught up with Rumble yet. I got our first caller on the line, so well done, Johnny, on the spot. Who are we talking to tonight?
It's Rose.
Hello, Rose. How are you doing?
You know I call if nobody else does.
You're on the spot.
Well.
You're ready to go. What do you got going on this week? How's your week going?
Oh, slow week.
Yeah.
Waiting for permits and crap.
Because you're building a kitchen?
Working on that. It's turned into more of a 2-story small building.
You're building a whole building?
There's a pre-existing structure that's getting changed to a tiny home.
Good. And this is your
waiting on the city to.
If my memory serves, this is what, like a friend who's an engineer that's going to be going there?
It's a friend of mine. I'm just doing all the layouts of kitchen, bathroom, all that stuff, and helping with a kind of a general contractor type job.
Yeah, why not? That sounds like something that people do.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? You've interrupted the Kyle Seraphin Show IRL ambassador tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, I hope to be in Idaho by now, but we're back there via Texas and some other places. But that's on hold until probably August now.
It'll still be nice out there. Is this to go see Lori, or is this to see some other folks that are on the tour?
I'm going to stop through Texas, see you and Mark and wherever else is out there. And then I'm going to go up probably maybe through Arizona.
And this is going to be in August?
Yes.
I feel like if that's the case, then we need to set up, like we need to have a venue of some kind, huh? Do we need to have a venue? Have like a like a real group of people that want to meet up? There's enough people in this general area. Feels like we could make that happen.
That'd be awesome. I've got a list of, I think, 3 or 4 that are in that area.
Yeah, that seems
Every time I see somebody's area, I write it down. Got a list going.
All right, so let's start a thread on locals. I'll put you in charge of it if you want to do it, but let's put it on the subscriber side. No, we'll just make it open. If people are regular listeners to the show and they want to do an Austin meetup when Rose is doing the IRL tour. Are you driving? Is that what you said? You're going to drive through?
Good. Yeah. Yes.
Should we make t-shirts? I just had a company reach out to me and they're like, have you thought about t-shirt merch? And I was like, kind of have a guy who does that, but I think Garrett's kind of burned out on doing those. So I can always donate profits.
Yeah, he hasn't had any new ones lately.
Yeah, I don't know that his excitement level. You go out there and you bring in 6 figures worth of, or well, not 6 figures. What did you bring in? Probably like mid 5 figures for a year's worth of pushing it. I think Glenn Beck helped a little bit. And then you're like, okay, I've seen what that is. I don't think he wanted to continue doing it. I don't feel like that's his calling. Poor Garrett. Yeah. What are we going to do with that guy?
He needs to start a biblical podcast or something.
Yeah, he might need to. Something to that effect. Can you hear the music in the background, by the way?
I can.
Yeah, that's not too bad, right? It's not overpowering what we're saying.
No.
Just it's a vibe.
Not at all. You got some haters today, didn't you?
Did you say some haters?
Yeah.
I got Dan Bongino to hide my post today. Did you see that?
I saw something connected with yours and Dan's, but I didn't get into it.
Yeah, I think I hurt Dan's feelings. I made fun of his post because he said he misses all of his fans and rocks are being overturned and things are being picked apart and good things are happening. And I was like, I just made fun of it. It's always such bullshit with that guy. Like,
I know.
No substance, none whatsoever. What's going on?
Right, same old.
How did we end up like this?
Then you got, is that really Comey's cousin?
I don't know who that guy is. I just pick up haters. You know, this is what I do. Rose, this is just what I do. I stir the pot and I don't take it too personally. And then when certain people react to it, I do laugh pretty aggressively.
They're amusing.
Let's see here. Hold on. Look at this person in our chat. Hey, Kyle, I just thought about your favorite movies. I bet they're Silence of the Lamb and Point Break. Whatever would make someone think that? Why would they think something like that? Hold on there. This is Thomas Guevara. Watch this. You ready? I've got a thing that I can do for him. Check this out, Thomas. I've got a camera that will show you the posters on the screen right now. Boom. There's the Point Break poster, and there is the Silence of the Lamb poster. You can't see it, Rose, but if you could see it, that's what's going on the wall there. Now he's got a perfect view.
I've seen him before.
I know you have. So there we go. That is
a few times.
Turns out we've got. I found out that.
Don't forget the X-Files.
Yeah, no, that's in the other corner. That's a different camera altogether. I'm not going to load that one up for him, but I guess we could pivot the camera. Now that I got this little PTZ, the point tilt zoom cam, I can slide it around and do stuff like that. Steve Friend apparently is going to be doing 2 hours on the Blaze before Friendly Friday, so we're going to get him like kind of tired tomorrow. And I was half hoping that Blaze would fly him in and he could like drive down and we could do a delayed Friendly Friday and have him in person, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
Oh, that would have been fun.
It would be fun. At some point, I should just do that. Everybody who's looking on the screen right now can actually see not only do we have Silence of the Lamb posters and the Point Break, but there's also a Benelli shotgun hanging out there just in case the person sitting in that chair needs a Benelli shotgun. I can't remember who I was talking to. I think I was talking to Tim Kennedy when he came in here, but there was also somebody I was talking to on the remote. I'm like, I am literally surrounded by firearms in this room. I've got the Shield Arms little pistol sitting over here, kind of Steven Crowder style. I've got revolver from the 70s up on the wall. What else we got? We got this other revolver sitting on the wall. We're surrounded by firearms. We're safe, is what I'm trying to say.
Never a bad thing.
No, it can't be bad. All right.
So who are you talking about dying?
Who's dying?
Did you say somebody was dying? They had to get a show out? Or?
Somebody, say it again.
Did you say somebody was dying that you had to get the show out? I already thought somebody was dying.
That's the first I've heard of it. I don't think I said that.
At the beginning. Everybody's like, who's dying? I was like, I don't know.
I don't have the answer. If I said somebody was dying, I don't know what it was.
Okay.
My apologies. I said I was trying something out. No, I'm trying something new. So what I'm doing is I didn't pre-stage the Rumble show. I just went with it live. There's an opportunity that the streaming software allows me to quote unquote schedule it, but it doesn't actually show up until I go live, and then it actually does put it out there. So it didn't go live until the intro started. So I was kind of playing with that and seeing what I think. Renzo knows. Look at this. Renzo's straightening you out. He knows. Trying, not dying. Now you're making people worried. Rose, you can't get people amped up like that. They're going to worry that something bad's happening.
There were some questions in chat. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't solve that problem. All right. That's a misheard lyric.
Well, you need to give us time. You need time to share it before the show.
Yes.
Can you schedule?
I can. I'm just, like I said, I was trying something. I wanted to see what would happen if I wanted to be able to like walk out on the street and do a live presentation. After walking around in that crowd at the No Kings rally, I'm more and more interested in doing weird live streams. But I need a partner in crime, and I've got one of my best buddies from middle school who lives in the Austin area, and maybe I can talk him into like coming out for some things. I actually think we should launch an entire show with my buddy of him just talking to people and asking them questions on the street. I think we would have a blast. I think it would be funnier than a lot of the stuff that's out there. He's incredibly amusing. A lot of my weird humor has been shaped by him over the years because we've known each other for, I don't know, 30-something years.
Wow.
And we've definitely, there's a lot of like, what do they call it? The bilateral trade agreement that we have where we can steal each other's stuff. And we've both stolen liberally from each other's weird sense of humor.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Naughton stuff was good, but he was too polite and nice.
Mark Naughton has a lot of verbal pauses that I asked him to work on, and he wasn't working on it. That's not why we're not, like, he just got busy too. He's about to commission as an officer. Yeah. But yeah, Mark he's a little bit more of a straight man on that stuff. And I don't think, that's not really our style, is it?
No.
We're a little more sarcastic than that.
Snarky. We like snarky.
Yeah, and we might like inside jokes that the other party is not in on. I think that's always fun.
We got plenty of those, and
so should I drop
plenty of those in Seraphim?
Should I drop some news for the crew here?
Yeah.
I got a process server that showed up to my house yesterday.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
For what? Specifically?
Well, I was actually interested that they found me, and he wouldn't tell me how they found me, which was actually kind of frustrating. He's like, I didn't actually do that. There was another PI that was involved. I just got my PI license. But nice enough guy. Said he occasionally listens to the program. Thanked me for being a whistleblower, and then served me some paperwork. I'm being subpoenaed to testify as a witness in Project Veritas versus James O'Keefe in the Southern District of New York.
Wow, really? Wow.
So here's the best part. Any podcast where we mention James is supposed to be listed in the discovery. So, so we just added to this. So every day I can add to discovery with this just by mentioning it. It's very funny. I've got until July 29th to add as many as I want. What a strange decision. Oh, I don't think he'll actually be there in person, but we may actually bring in an attorney friend to sit with me. And on top of that, there's a decent possibility. We're definitely going to record it, but I might live stream it if that's feasible. I feel like live streaming it on Twitter because I know what he's going to do with it. You know, if you've seen what he's been doing, he's been taking people's depositions and cutting them into these like bullshit made up documentaries that misrepresent what was being testified, and so he's trying to get like little snippets. And so I would rather just live stream the whole thing because I don't give a shit what they say.
Yeah.
I don't have any secrets about that. So that'll be kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's not in a court. We're just going down to like a court reporter stenographer office where it's just a videotaped, interview. So that could be
a mediator type place.
Something. Austin court reporter people, Austin deposition station or something. So yeah, that could be really funny.
Yeah, I would definitely record the whole thing regardless.
Well, that's definitely, one way or another, I'm going to get my own copy, and I'm more than happy to. But I think a live stream might be kind of fun, too. I mean, I don't care. I think it might get really boring, too.
What was he thinking? Yeah, I don't get anything from O'Keefe.
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
Nobody has served you yet?
I just don't see it. No. No. I had people follow me around the grocery store, but no.
You got people following you in the grocery store for what?
Oh, that was after J6.
Well, what can you do?
Yeah. Right.
That was a wild time.
Weird people knocking on my door.
Yeah, we still haven't solved all those problems yet. Have you noticed?
Yeah, I've noticed quite a bit.
So
every time I see something that...
Would it be fair to say that cutesy time is continuing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even more gross now.
Yeah, it's suboptimal, isn't it?
Yes.
Not ideal.
But they're trying to pretend like it's not happening, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's gross.
It is. Our chat situation is pretty wild looking right now. I'm seeing both sides. I'm seeing double versions of Rumble plus all the mixture. Maybe I'll have to isolate it down to one. I'm still kind of playing with how this all works, but anyway. I wonder if I actually have that. I don't think I do. I don't think I have a button that does that, so we'll just leave it where it is. What else is there? Anything else exciting and new? Should we see if there's other people that want to add their 2 cents?
Sounds good. I broke the ice now. Tracy had a new story, I think.
Tracy has a new story?
Maybe Tracy can call in.
I'm ready. I'm ready for the new story. I'm definitely ready.
Hopefully she calls in.
All right. Well,
plus everybody this Sunday is that if you probably all saw Tracy's article that was in DC. What is it called?
Uncover DC.
Uncover DC. Yeah, Tracy's article is in there, and we did a graphic, and I've been putting the GSN Goes link and everything. So this Sunday is 1,000-day suspension for Garrett.
Yeah, I told Garrett that he's a wimp, that I've been off duty for like almost 1,200 days, so he's never going to be able to catch up to me, but...
It's so amazing. Steve was like a week before Garrett. You were 200 days before Garrett. Mm-hmm. It's really coincidental, isn't it?
No, it all happened after Phil. Phil was the first one out. Yeah, and I don't know if I told people. I mean, I think I've said it on some podcasts, but I may not have said it on mine. I had a phone call in September of 2021, and obviously my first getting kicked out the door was at the end of November. But sometime in September, they walked Phil out, and it kind of became obvious he wasn't coming back. And I got on the phone with him. I was out in New Mexico. I'm driving out in my Durango that I drove for work on the way to the Indian reservation. And as I'm rolling, I'm just checking in with him, like, "How you doing, man? Like, how's your head?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty shaken up," and so on and so forth. And I go, "Look, dude, if they got rid of you, I'm next. Like, I can't be far behind." And he goes, "Oh, I don't know." And I go, "No, I am very confident that like something bad is about to go down for me too. So like, I'll see you in a minute," kind of thing. So he was in September. In October, I ended up going to Congress in the first or second week of October of 21, and then by the third week of November, I was told I couldn't come back in the office. So it wasn't that long, and then I was finally kicked out in April of 22. So that was a couple months later, but the writing was on the wall at that point, and it was pretty clear. That's why I call Phil the canary in the coal mine.
The final straw. Yeah, that's true.
He likes being called the canary.
Final. I'll have to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Was his final straw the election stuff?
Who's that? Phil?
Phil, yeah.
His was really simple. They sent out an anonymous survey that was asking employees of the Washington field office, how did the FBI handle January 6th and the response to it? And his answer was very sarcastic and snarky, and it said something to the effect of January 6th, or the FBI's handling of January 6th should have been called Crossfire Hurricane 2 The Revenge. And then he put in like parentheses, grovelly male voice, and then he was like, this time it's personal, blah, blah, blah. And he like wrote some funny stuff about it. It was actually really comical. It's a clever, kind of fuck you to these people. Yeah. And yeah, and that was it. They unmasked it, and suddenly he started having some personnel issues right away, out of nowhere, for things that are not part of his job description.
Yeah. Has Phil ever mentioned Greg Phillips and Catherine Engelbrecht?
Did he mention that to who?
Has he ever brought it up to you?
I don't think we've had a conversation about it. I've talked at least in DMs with Greg, and I'm cursorily aware of their situation. It's been a while since I've heard those names. Back when I was on Truth Social more, which I'm never on anymore because it's an echo chamber, but when I was on Truth, I used to see them a lot more frequently.
They're the ones that presented the documentation to the FBI.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, of course. Listen, the crazy thing was some of us were always aware of some of that nuts stuff that was out there, and nobody did anything about it. And we were asking questions. So one of the questions we asked my supervisor about in January of 21, like right after January 6th, sometime at the end of the month, I think we sat down with my boss, and it was about 8 or 10 of us. It was most of the squad, if not the entire squad. And we're like, hey, what the hell is the FBI doing about election fraud? Like, there's a lot of really, there's a lot of smoke out there. And I don't know how much of it is legit, but are we investigating it? And he went up and asked, and you know who he asked?
Oh.
Jennifer Moore.
Oh, jeez.
Because she was the special agent in charge of our division. And so he asked her, and Drunk Jenny said, shut your mouth and color. And he came back down and told us that, everything was fine and the FBI was on it, and that was it. And we were like, oh boy. And he did not look right. And by the way, that boss, who was a really decent guy, he really was, really is, he ended up leaving the FBI less than a year later.
Wow.
And he had 16 years in. So a lot like Phil, spent a lot of time in and just walked out, was like, this is not what I signed up for. So that's pretty weird.
Yeah, that's probably all into that election stuff. There was a ton of smoke.
A lot of smoke. It would have been nice if somebody that, had the authority to actually get information had investigated it. That would have been pretty cool, I would think. But, that's not the world we live in.
All right. I'll get off now. Sorry.
It was all good. I appreciate your call. Thanks for being on the spot with it. And we'll leave the line open for the next caller. But we'll have to figure out our T-shirt design for the IRL Austin meetups.
All right.
All right, Miss Rose. Thanks for calling.
Sounds good. All right, bye.
Have a nice night. Okay, folks, that opens up the line, and that means whoever else is ready, you can pull the trigger on that 818 phone number. Again, you got to be a subscriber to call in, but anybody can listen. You guys can all be part of the program here. We're all just kind of hanging out. This is the Over the Scene Shot. For those of you who are wondering, yes, there is the X-Files poster right there. In front of me over here is where the Silence of the Lambs is, and then off to my right is the picture of Bodie and Johnny Utah doing the jump, which is kind of funny. Here, let me see if I can pivot it over. Is that real nerdy? It's pretty nerdy. Have you guys ever done this little studio tour like this? Got another caller on the line right now, so we're going to interrupt the studio tour for this breaking phone call. Who's on the line with me? Is it Tracy?
How are you?
Hi, Tracy. How you doing, hon?
I'm okay.
Just
So,
okay.
Couple things tonight.
Okay.
The guy has announced that he's running against Johnny Earth. His name is, oh crap, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Jim Carlin. I wanted to say Carson, I don't know why. Jim Carlin is running against Johnny Earth in Iowa, which is awesome.
Okay.
But Rose alluded to it. I had Plains and I just do not get along. Let's just say that first and foremost.
Who doesn't get along with you?
So I was planning to go home to see my family.
Are you saying aircraft?
Like
airplanes?
Okay. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, they don't like me. They really don't like me.
Okay.
And so I was going home to see family. I get to the airport, plenty of time, get to my gate. The plane that I'm going to be on comes in, and people get off, and we get on, and we push back from the gate, and I think, excellent, I'm going to get to Chicago, and then I'm going to get home, and suddenly the plane shut off.
What?
Just like shut down. All lights off, air conditioning off.
You had a total power failure while you guys
suddenly.
were while you were taxiing?
We hadn't turned to taxi just yet. We were about to turn to taxi.
Wow, that's not good.
And so we sat there for about 30 minutes before they could get a ground crew to come back in and tow the plane back into the gate.
Yuck.
So they got us all off, and the gate agent was trying to rebook people until they figured out what they were going to do. And so he announced at some point that the airline was going to send a recovery plane to come pick us up and take us back to Chicago.
What's a recovery plane?
So we were like, yeah, it's a recovery plane. Who knew? So we're waiting in the terminal, and finally about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my original flight was at 11.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the gate agent announces that our recovery plane has pulled back off the gate in Chicago and should be on its way shortly.
Oh, good.
So we're all thinking, excellent. It'll be here, hour 15 minutes. We'll be on our way by 5 p.m.
And you're just sitting in a plane with no power in the middle of a taxiway?
No, they let us get off at least after they dragged the plane back into the gate.
Got it.
So then we found out that the recovery plane sat on the tarmac in Chicago for 2 hours.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're expecting a plane, and there's no plane, and it finally takes off. Now, I got an opportunity to talk to the pilot briefly, because this has happened to me before when I got off a plane and they had to get a different plane, and then we got back on the plane, and then the pilot timed out, and then they didn't have any other pilots to fly the plane. So this time I asked her, I was like, okay, when we get this recovery plane, are you going to time out before we can get back to Chicago? Oh, no, she assures me everything is perfect.
Because of the crew rest requirements you're talking about.
Yes, they can only stay flying so long.
Right.
So the new plane finally gets there. Finally takes off from Chicago about 5 o'clock, lands in Cedar Rapids here, and comes into the gate, and nobody's on it. It flew empty, so they turn it around. There's 11 of us left from the original flight from 10 hours beforehand. And we get on the plane, and we're like all set to go. We figure this will be quick. They'll close the door. We'll back out the gate. We'll be off.
But no.
And then we sat there. And finally, the pilot got back on the intercom, and she's like, we're just having some confusion with paperwork. We'll be on our way shortly. And then she appears in the cabin. She comes out of the cockpit, and she comes back to talk to us. And she's like, I'm really sorry, but we've timed out. Yes. We can't take off. Yeah. And she told me in the airport, the plane that was coming in, even if she timed out, that they would be able to fly the plane back.
Right.
But guess what?
Nope.
They had timed out too.
So you could have driven.
I never got home.
You could have driven.
I could have driven by all this time.
Yeah.
And so we had to get off the plane again, and I got to the gate, and I was just like, I'm just canceling this flight. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going back home. And the gate agent, I was like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And no, I'm glad I didn't go, because I found out when I woke up the next morning here at home
The plane
that
crashed.
my flight in Chicago to Buffalo got delayed. So it was delayed from 11:30 to 12:30, and then 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, and then finally they just canceled it. So even if I had gotten to Chicago, I
You would have been
wouldn't
staying in
gone anywhere
Chicago.
from Chicago either. Oh my gosh, planes and I do not get along.
Yeah, no, that's good
At all.
news. I don't want to be on a flight with you if that's
Yeah.
if that's your sort of history or your
Do
luck.
not,
I don't want that.
yes, do not fly with me. Definitely don't get off the plane if you see me coming. But I do want to tell you one thing.
Yes.
I triggered somebody this week
Tell me.
really quite well.
Okay.
So ever since the whole COVID thing, I've always wanted to get a T-shirt that said "You're all Fauci's Beagles now," with a little picture of a beagle on it. Cute little shirt, you know. And so I ran into somebody on Facebook who has a custom T-shirt shop.
Okay.
Excellent. So I texted him and I asked him if he could make me this shirt. And this was his response: "I certainly could, but I absolutely won't.
Oh.
Anti-vaxxers are seated in stupidity only by Trumpers and flat earthers. But good luck finding somebody to assist your ignorant anti-science delusion."
Wow.
Be me. Wow, did I trigger somebody this week? I'm impressed with myself.
3-star review for that guy.
I know, seriously. I got booted off X once for saying Fauci needs to be hanged, and now I've got this guy giving me lip on. I
That's
don't know. Certain things just make me proud of myself.
that's pretty good. I mean, no notes. That's textbook stuff,
There
right?
you go. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So I probably will not be making that trip this summer because I can't read books for the same price. And I don't really feel like giving them another $200 of my money. So looks like I'm not making the trip after all.
I had a one. I don't get a lot of bad airline experiences, but I had one that was kind of like I could never make it up, and maybe that's the reason why I don't have a sister anymore who will talk to me. I don't think that's why. I think it's because Donald Trump. I think it's because Donald Trump got into office and it broke her head. But my baby sister was graduating from college, and I didn't have a ton to do with her college career other than she seemed like she was kind of getting a little wild at one point when she was maybe like a sophomore going into her junior year. So, and I was in the middle of a bad breakup. So I moved up to Kansas City and she moved into Kansas City. She went to the nursing school at KU and I moved in to run a restaurant. And so we were living in the same area. So I got to see her like once or twice a week. She'd come in, I make sure like she got fed at the restaurant. We'd have like brother sister moments, kind of, counseling things. I'm 25, 26. She's 20 or 21, something like that. And I'm probably 20. And I'm just kind of keeping an eye on her as, this is probably the only time we had as semi-adults in the same place. And then she was getting ready to graduate and I took another job out in LA and then I ended up at the Warner Brothers thing. And so when I was working for Warner Brothers and I didn't have a car, all I owned was a motorcycle. I booked a Friday afternoon flight to LAX and I set the record for a Friday afternoon from Burbank to LAX run on my bike in the middle of afternoon drive traffic. Like I got down there in 38 minutes. It was nuts. I went super fast. I cut the lanes like you can in California, zipped all the way through on the HOV double line and rolled all the way down there and made it in time for my flight. And I jumped up there and I had 50 minutes or 55 minutes to spare before my flight. And I saw the longest line that I've ever seen in an airport in my entire life. It wrapped around the flipping building. And I kept asking people like, hey, my flight leaves in 55 minutes. Do you have a way to make that happen so that we don't ruin it or whatever? And they were like, sorry, sir. And so they kept giving me kind of like the FU. I finally got up to the gate. It was like 18 minutes till the flight was going to leave. It actually went pretty quickly. I get up there and the lady was like, why didn't you come and tell us at the door? We would have walked you straight in. And I'm like, asshole. I asked and everybody said, no, you've got to be shitting me. And she was like, okay, well, you're going to have to run. And I'm like, will you call ahead and tell them that I'm en route so they don't close the doors and I barely miss it? And they're like, no, we can't really do that. And so I'm running through the terminal and I was, for the first time in my life, the paging Seraphin, whatever, party of one.
Yeah.
We're closing the doors. We're leaving you, a-hole. And so I sprinted through there and I got there and they closed the gate like 3 or 4 minutes before I got there. And I could still see the plane and the gateway was still connected. And I'm not even sure they had closed the door yet, but they'd closed the door at the airport level and they said, no. We can book you on another flight. It'll be tomorrow morning. And we'll get you there at like 11:45. And the graduation was at like 9:30 or 10 o'clock. So
yeah, no where you spent it then.
So I missed my sister's graduation for college because of that.
Yep.
And I was forever pissed off at Continental Airlines until they went out of business. And now they're united, and now I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I've run through Chicago multiple times. I remember just, you know how they have that moving walkway underneath the runway?
Yes.
I've run along that thing just screaming at people to get out of my way.
Yep. It's awful. I did that once in Berlin with like huge bags.
Yep. I made that flight, I think, by 2 minutes. That was it. I was really close. And there was one flight I was flying to New Zealand, and that was when we got on the plane and the plane didn't work. So we had to get off the plane and we got on another plane and then the pilot timed out and then we had to find a new crew and they finally found a new crew, but then one of the flight attendants refused to get on the plane and it was just a disaster. I missed the first 2 days of my cruise. But yeah, flights and I don't get along.
Well, I'm glad to know that there are some people out there that I generally have really good luck. So yeah, don't jump on any planes with me if possible. I don't want you jacking up my history. I've had a pretty good run for the last couple years. I actually, the last time I had a bad time getting on a flight, the most recent time that happened was when I was flying out to go see Dan Bongino for the first interview that I ever did publicly. And that was a flipping nightmare. And it got kicked back and kicked back and kicked back. And I was supposed to fly direct to Miami. And instead I ended up in Dallas overnight. And then I got a phone call from James O'Keefe, who called and tried to talk me out of going on Dan Bongino's podcast and asked me to go and do my story with him for the first time.
Oh. Well, there's another time you mention him.
Yeah. So that's good.
So my next flight is not till December. So hopefully.
Just plan on driving. Get yourself a.
Oh, well, this one's overseas again. So I can't drive.
Plan on driving. Go watch Ewan McGregor in The Long Way Round. You can drive anywhere you want. You may have to take a boat partially, but you can drive.
I could get to most of it because I'm flying to Argentina. So I could probably get there.
You could definitely get there.
Car.
People have done it.
Yes, it's the Antarctica part that would be a problem.
Right. I think people have done it in the 70s. They drove down there. I think it's doable. Wait, you're going to Antarctica? That's the end state?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be
the very bottom.
That's a long drive. That's tough to do. Not many people make it. All right.
No, that definitely way too long for me.
Rose is willing to drive with you, though.
Hopefully, weather is good.
Rose is willing to drive.
And I'm not going to Chicago, so
fair.
That seems to be the key.
Avoid Chicago. Yeah, Garrett has an issue with Chicago as well. He's not a big fan.
Always. Yep. It's always Chicago that I'm late or running through or missing flights in. And they don't have any nice places to sleep in that airport at all. I mean, last time I was stranded there, I was sacked out on the floor because there was nowhere else to be, and I didn't have a flight till 5 a.m. So I was like, I'm just going to sleep here on the floor. But yeah, there's no nice place to sleep in Chicago.
Yuck. Now there's probably a bunch of migrants hanging out there, or whatever they call those illegals.
Very possibly. I didn't see any, but of course I didn't make it to Chicago this time. But
you don't even know.
I don't even know.
You don't even know. You don't even know.
I don't even know.
You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know. You don't even know Yeah.
I have no clue. And when the plane shut down, I got on the app real quick, and the airline showed us in the air.
Oh, that's cool.
They're not taking off yet. We're not flying anywhere yet.
Liars.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Typical.
So, but anyway, hope you're doing well.
No complaints that anybody wants to hear. It's like I had Enrico Tario ask me that earlier today. How you doing, bro? The answer is as well as can be expected. Or what is it that people used to say? Better than I deserve? Probably better than I deserve too. Still standing.
Okay.
So.
That's all right then.
Yeah.
That's all right
no
then.
complaints. Well, I'm sorry you missed your flight.
Excellent.
That's a good
Thank you.
cautionary tale for everybody. Have a backup plan, or maybe just don't invest too heavily in your emotion of traveling. I don't actually like traveling.
Of traveling.
That's what I told Dinesh D'Souza's daughter that one time when she was asking me about travel. I was like, yeah, my favorite part is going home.
Okay.
Just like going home.
True. Yep.
And she was like, well, what about when what about when you're on the trip? And I'm like, yeah, when I'm on the trip, I really like packing to go home and then going home. That's my favorite part of the trip. Knowing that I'm about to be home. It's interesting to me for about 2 or 3 hours on the ground if I leave house. And then I'm like, I don't want to do this.
Yep. Right. When I lived in Wyoming, I actually timed this once. From the moment the pilot stopped the plane at the gate, and I didn't check, so I carried on. The moment he stopped, I started timing it. I could be home in 11 minutes. That was awesome.
I like that.
Here I don't have an airport that close, but
yeah, that's fair.
It's a good hour trip, so.
There's something to be said about not being near crappy airports in general, though. It keeps other people away from you, too.
That is true. That is true.
It is indeed.
So you have yourself an awesome night.
Thanks for calling in. I'll do my best. You do the same, and we'll see what other kind of interesting shenanigans we're going to get into tonight.
Excellent. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks, Tracy.
Bye.
Bye. All right. That's number 2. I saw someone was just beeping in there, or they don't beep in anymore. What do? People flash in on the call waiting screen. Anyhow, if you want to dial in, the line is now open. The 818 phone number. You guys are on the spot tonight. You're making it happen. Caller number 3. Who's on the line?
Number 3. I'm number 1.
In your heart.
Yeah. In my own mind. How are you doing tonight, Kyle?
I'm doing well. How are you doing? Oh, you just got in. You just got in on the buzzer. There were 2 more calls coming in. How about that?
Ooh, I had to get back on here at some point. So
you're good. What do we got going on? Are we having a discussion about cosmetically enhanced friends? Is that what's going on? What did I?
Ooh, I was gonna just trashing that out there while I could.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you had me pretty intrigued with your insurance comments this week. So I thought that'd be fun territory to cover.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Lock into it.
Well, I just think, there's a lot of people that are kind of uncomfortable as they start to see how insurance, especially medical insurance, really works.
Mm-hmm. Did we cover this at one point before? I feel like maybe
maybe
really early on in one of the first things we did, maybe 6 months ago or something, at least briefly.
Man, that could be.
Does that sound right?
That very well could be.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was probably representing a lot of random crazy ideas. So.
All right, carry on.
It's a fun one because I think a lot of people don't know the solutions that are there, and it's so scary, right? When you're trying to manage risk and dealing with health and family, like it's so close. Like one of the things that I found pretty just cool with you is like, okay, you guys did a home birth, and I don't like. Not many people even talk about that, right? Because it's such a scenario as a dad where you're like. These are the people that matter most to me. How do I walk through that and yet look at God's plan for us is safer than whatever medical advice is out there, right? It's a wild place to be. So,
yeah, it has the potential, I think, of being really scary for a lot of people, and maybe I'm situated differently than most in so much as after a decade as a paramedic, there's not a lot of things that I think I can't at least stall long enough for additional professionals to get around, unless it's not going to be recoverable in the first place. And I don't know the answer to all the things, obviously, and I'm definitely not as good a medic as I was when I was actually doing it for a living. But you know, I did have my baby right now, who seems to be scary sharp. Like, I'm really uncomfortable with how much she knows for a 21-month-old. She's not speaking in paragraphs, but she's speaking in like basically full sentences. They're not completely intelligible to anybody who doesn't listen to her regularly, but I know what she's saying because the words they're close enough to real words, right? Like, she's approximating them. And she's
in for it.
Oh, dude, she's ingesting full information. I read a thing that said like at 20 months at 2 years, like children might be speaking as many as 50 words. And I'm like, my kid speaks as many as 50 different words in 8 minutes. She's got all the words right now. She's totally dialed in. But she also,
dude, that's so awesome.
She also went completely apneic within under 24 hours of being born. So that was real scary. Did I share this with you? I think I shared this before, but she.
Yeah, with Peter Johnson, I listened pretty closely to that one. Actually, I think I listened to that one multiple times just because it's such a.
Okay, so I was telling Peter that on. I know I brought it up on the podcast. I didn't know where it was. So she blued out. Yeah. I mean, she was as blue as the wall behind me. Like the scariest shit that can ever happen to your baby went down. I look over and like I have a non-breathing sub 1 day old infant. And by the way, I'm pretty sure the firefighters like shit themselves too when the call came in. Because when they walked in the door, they were like, how old is this baby? And I was like 23 hours old or whatever it was. It was like 18 hours old. And they were like, dude, like we got the call. And like, of course she's screaming at that time. So they're not panicking and I'm not panicking. Right. So everyone's doing okay. Right. But imagine walking into a house with an 18-hour-old baby. and you're a paramedic or a firefighter.
Yeah, they haven't encountered that ever, right?
They've never had that.
Not ever.
Nope. That's on zero peds calls ever. That's never happened.
No.
Like nobody's ever that close. First of all, we lived really close to a fire station, so they were there in about 8 minutes. And if we waited from the time of 911 until they got there, she would have been dead, hands down.
Yep.
I had her breathing in probably less than 90 seconds from when I noticed, so she might have been apneic and blue for less than 2 minutes total, and she still had, even at that, she still had enough lung capacity to be fine. Like no deficits, no problem. But
wow, dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's a clinch. And also,
that's a serious moment. Like
people don't know how to put their head into that space. Anyway, you talk. I don't need to tell stories. I know my story.
No, it's so good. It's so important though, because like I think as a dad, like I think some part of us projects to emergencies and says, hey, I want to be the guy that responds to that and handles it.
Yes.
And does what I need to do. And then you have a few moments like that and you're like, okay, that, by the grace of God, that went well first, but also like there's a sense of agency there that says, okay, then you got to step up to the challenge and do what you need to do. And I think that comes, from a lot of situations where rubber meets road, crisis and emergency response and stuff like that. But
yeah, it gives me chills thinking about it.
Back to that.
I had such a weird moment in that exact moment. The thing that I'll tell you exactly what I thought, and I don't know if I shared this with my wife even, but she'll probably listen to this and hear. I remember thinking this. I was like, I don't even know this baby yet, which was true. This is a weird thing. So I don't think dads talk about this very often, but I've explained this to new dads frequently. I'm like, when your child is born, I've heard men say, immediately the first moment I looked at my child, I fell in love with them. My life changed forever. I was, that was it. I was hooked. I was connected. I think that's revisionist. I think real people, grown men, at least the kind of men that I'm around, they met their child for the first time and the connection was, I know this person is dependent on me, but I don't know this person. And that's a big difference. And so like that connection that mothers form by carrying them in the womb and feeling them kick and knowing their needs and having all the cravings that their bodies are generating, like that's a different thing that men cannot appreciate. And so I told my buddies this. I was like, look, don't be shocked if the first time you look at your baby, like that's a little alien that now needs to rely on you. And you're going to come to know them, and you're not going to have that same thing. Your wife is already 9 months ahead. Yeah. And that's a real thing. So I looked at the baby and I was like, I don't know this little person yet. And I need to act like this is someone that I don't know. I'm going to treat this like anyone else. I'm going to do the things that need to be done, like without the emotion of being like a freaked out dad.
You have to suspend all of that.
Yeah. So I did. I just sequestered all that thing, and I just went straight into, what is my order of operations? I'm going to start with airway. So I had my wife open the windows. I had her turn off the fan. I had her turn on all the lights so I could see as much as possible. We opened up the windows so it was nice and warm because I wanted circulation to be, doing what it needed to be done. And then I moved her into and then I started doing suctioning, and I moved her into a position where she was going to have gravity work for her. And that was it. You don't want to even do back blows at that point in time. She was so small.
No.
And I didn't know she aspirated, and she'd never eaten anything. So like she aspirated on basically like some amniotic fluid that she had coughed up out of her lungs.
Fluids. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's what I kind of figured was the likely scenario there. But no, I think when I first held my daughter, like it was a distinct moment because to your point, like I think, talking to it just, the reality wasn't there, but I felt like gravity shift. I felt my world reorient. Like this person is now important. Like, it's like getting hired on for a job, right? I mean, it's like, okay, I now have new responsibilities. I mean, it is. It's like I have new responsibilities, but I don't know what they involve. Yeah. It's exciting. Yeah. It's just, yeah.
But I don't know what it is.
I'm here for the mission, right?
Yeah.
And no failing.
Yeah, it's a zero fail mission, 100%.
Yeah. But it's something, I think the first clue I had with my daughter was bright. And then both of them are just wild, dude, which is fun. But I was walking her the first night, like my wife finally got to sleep, and our first daughter, we had a hospital birth, and so I'm in there and I'm kind of pacing back and forth, and she's awake and her eyes are open for one of the first times, and I'm just kind of, having a good dad moment. And I walk by the bathroom door, and there's this like harsh light in there that was kind of indirectly illuminating the room, and it hits her in the face, like just boom. And I'm like, oh shoot, I just destroyed this moment. Like you have that moment of like, she's going to panic, cry, it's going to wake, my wife up.
Right.
So I'm like, oh no, and she turns at the light and just grins. Like, oh no, this child is going to be engaged.
How interesting.
Yeah. But,
that is
no, it's a wild ride. 10 and 12 now, and they give me a run for my money, man.
And you have
That's
exactly
awesome.
2, or did you have others too?
Yep.
Two girls. Yeah. I feel like I saw a dad the other day. He came by and he had 3, and we were at Costco, and he was like, "You got one more than us, so like you're one up on us." And he goes, "For now." And I'm like, "Oh, I like that. And I go, "Yeah, but you got 3 boys." And he was like, "Yeah, that's true." He goes, "You have 3 girls and a boy." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, and I said, "That's because you have less sins to pay for than me." And he looked at me like really confused, like as I'm saying this in front of my wife and my kids. And he's like, "What's that?" And I go, "I'm pretty confident that men who have a lot of daughters are paying for sins from their past life." And he kind of looked at me and he goes,
just hit him with the
yeah, he was like, "Oh, dude, I don't know, man." And I'm like, "Yeah, you seem like a nice guy. You probably don't know." There's something good about that.
Oh, that's epic.
It caught him off guard. He wasn't ready for that. And then, it's one of those moments. It's like, and then Garrett has 4 daughters, so he has more sins than me.
Oh gosh, dude. Yeah. He does. This is known. No, it's wild. It's wild being a dad, but I think those moments too, where you're choosing early, like to trust what you're kind of led to do, right? And like, it's just kind of wild. Like I know a lot of people probably won't identify that seems crazy. But when you're like understanding, hey, this is a natural process and occurred, thousands of years before our modern medical practices. Why do we need to treat it like, a medical emergency? You start kind of reframing that. And then you have a couple encounters with the sheer incompetence and just craziness that can happen in the hospital setting. And it's like, okay, yes. I do need to kind of trust my instincts, and that's a lot to take on, but it's I think it's scary
because it's unknown. Here's the other thing. Like we're conditioned right now that that's where babies are born. They're born in a hospital. There's movies of it happening. There's a doctor that's supposed to be the first person that touches the baby. They have to check and make sure everything works. And you're like, No, I will. So here's the thing. As a guy who, like, I'd been in multiple deliveries, I've caught probably a handful of babies, and I've been part of a couple of C-sections and so on. So I've been through like quite a few. For most guys, I've been way ahead of most people's experience with like baby delivery, and so and I was looking at it at that time, even when I was going through. Like, I wasn't even married at the time, but when I first started being a medic, I was like, one day this is going to be a really useful experience as a dad and as a father, and so on and so forth. So that was in my brain.
Yeah.
Right. But so I was hands on all of our babies being born, and I'm like my wife's most aggressive, pissed off advocate. Like, you can't get me to be nice to a doctor because, like, fuck you, I pay you. Like, that's my attitude. Like, everyone always is like, well, what do you think? And I'm like, hey, do this thing, guy who works for me. You know, like, I'm paying $30,000 out of my insurance. I'm going to see the bill and it's going to be unruly. You better do what I say because
I love it.
I pay for this. And I think that's the other thing that's lost.
Exactly.
Having worked in a hospital, there's really two types of people that come in. There's the people that ask for permission. You know, they're like, do you think that I can get out of bed?
And the people that start saying, this is how this will go.
Right. This is a service that I pay for. And so I am demanding the service. And like the people who are like trying to follow all the rules, oftentimes they're the ones who are not paying. But if you've written a check or you've seen it come out of your check, like, this is a service that you are paying for. People would always ask, they'd be like, can I go do this? And I'm like, my buddy used to say this when I was a kid. Even when I was like 17 and 18, his dad would go, I'd go, hey, Mr. Cantwell, can we have like a soda pop or whatever in the fridge? And he'd be like, you can do whatever the hell you want. You're free white and 21. And I was like, I am not 21. But the idea of being free white and 21 is like something I would tell people that in the hospital sometimes. They'd be like, can I get up? And I'm like, you're free white and 21. It'd be like a black guy. And he'd look at me all weird. I'm like, seriously, whatever you want, man. Like, you're the boss here. That's the rule. If you're not free white and 21, act like you're free white and 21.
Such a lab coat syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a lab coat for people like walking into those environments and then feeling the authority of that. Like, it's so wild.
It's because people they don't want to take responsibility for their own life. This is what I've come to realize, and I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I think is true. People don't want to take responsibility for the scariest decisions, and so they're willing to cede it to somebody who's a quote-unquote expert because that person also takes on the responsibility for that decision.
Yep. And by doing, like, they invite all of the cascade of intervention that occurs, right? Especially birth, right? Like, you're in for the ride.
Yeah.
And you get the consequence. Yep. And that's a brutal lesson sometimes, man.
Yep. Yeah, it's not a good feeling.
But no,
and the other thing is this: how many people go out there and they get these like labs and they get these tests done, and then their doctors are like, "You should do this. You should do this pill about it." You know, like I have a I have a funny thing. It's a meme of like old timey doctors. Have you seen this meme? It's an old timey doctor, and he's it's like almost like a lithograph, and he's like listening to some lady, and he goes, "Ma'am, you've got ghosts in your blood. You should do cocaine about it." Which is about what medicine was like 200 years ago.
Seriously.
They're like, you got ghosts in your blood. Like, and the treatment is something crazy. So
when you brought that up this week, I had just had a conversation with some volleyball friends, right? It was just like, they were all like, oh, I get my blood work done so often to see what's wrong. And I'm like, you're nuts. Like, so he's telling you your cholesterol is high, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And to your point, like, take a statin, like, oh, let's talk about what that does in your body. That shuts off the production of cholesterol that your body is producing to compensate and deal with the issues that your organs are generating because probably your digestive tract is messed up. So
you are now manually,
now you're causing the actual issues you're trying to prevent. You will end up with heart disease.
Yes.
On statins.
Inevitably. Well, the best part is this. It's like, guys, there's a lure in like a testosterone replacement, right? You're like, oh, my T is low. I want to take more testosterone because like there's all these health benefits. You've just ceded testosterone production for the rest of your life. You are now dependent on a manual injection and or pill version forever because your body's going to go, well, you got that shit covered. I'm not going to do it. There's a feedback loop.
And it's so easy, right? Because it's like symptom. Oh, I take the pill. It's sorted. And I totally get that reasoning, but taking that second order or third order, like, wait, why am I not producing? Is that natural process?
Right.
Am I not as active as I should be? Am I not eating how I should? Like those fun, like, boy, am I not good mentally? Am I stressed?
Right. Should I start doing more violent things? Do I need to become, more violent with strangers? Is that the right answer for me?
Am I just used to taking it from everyone around me and being a good boy? Like, what is going on, right? You have to reflect back on that second level, I think, and going,
there should be some thoughts.
It's taking the pills not the answer, or even what is causing this. That one step is crazy in today's medical
You now
world.
know the what, but how about the why? Does anyone care about the why? Is that they just want to know what comes next? Like they want to know how to fix it? Like they want the how, but not the why? Right. I want the why, man.
Yeah.
That's my book. That's going to be my book, The Power of Why.
It changes everything, because once you crack open that door and you're willing to be like, you know what, I'm going to face it and ask the why. Mm-hmm. I remember that being like a conscious decision at some times in my life. Like, this is uncomfortable. I don't really want to question vaccines, but here we are. My wife and I are looking at each other, this newborn, and we're not on the same page. So how do we get on the same page?
Right.
You know, she was raised inside of a dentist family, and I was already a little bit on the fringe. It's like, okay, how are we going to decide? And it's like, well, do we look stuff up on our own? And I remember that being like a barrier. Like, ooh, can I trust what I actually find out somewhere? And we ended up doing it and looking up, found SIDS stats out of Japan and how that was the lowest in the world until they adopted a modern vaccination schedule. And it was like, oh, their SIDS rate climbed up and matched the rest of the world. And I went, that's enough to make me not feel good, right? But I didn't know, boy, a thousandth of what I've found out now. But it was like that fundamental, are you willing to look? That's an actual, line to cross and overcome.
The second piece of that is are you willing to take responsibility for your own choice? Without
exactly.
So I think it was Bill Cosby. This is one of those toilet book things that I remember. I think it was a Bill Cosby quote. But he said, when we're asking for advice, we're almost always looking for an accomplice.
Whoa. That's so powerful.
Now he was trying to rate women that he found attractive and he could knock out with a date rate drop. But it still stands to reason. Yeah. How dark is that shit? He was literally looking for an accomplice to hide bodies. But in reality, no. But everything about that has always rung true with me. I probably read that when I was like 14 years old, taking a crap in my parents' house, And I cannot shake the feeling that is exactly correct. When we ask for advice, we keep looking for someone to own a little piece of the responsibility for what we're doing. Like, will you carry this in terms of
your perspective on the banality of evil, right? Like, and that powerful look at evil isn't always that egregious, serial murderer in a horror movie.
Almost never.
Right? It's that person willing to get along and go along. And just follow orders, or just do that, or find that accomplice to, I can look at my neighbor, they're into way worse stuff than I'm into. They only beat their wife 2 times a week, or what? You're like,
right.
We constantly frame, justify, and look for somebody else's opinion to line up with ours to go, oh, okay. And spiritually, man, that's poison. Like, I see that in churches, and it's bad. Like,
that's the thing, I guess, that is so, interesting about guys that I've decided to align myself with. We found ourselves in this weird little spot, and it's like, not to any self-credit, but it's to look around and to know that independently, there's a small number of people that are going to willingly stand up in front of a room and say, all of you are wrong. And everyone's going to go, like, but it's like, you come look me in the eye and tell me that I'm wrong. Come and tell me to my face. Yeah. Like, I'm going to own it. I just owned it. I just bit off whatever I can chew on. Let's see what happens next. But I think you are all incorrect.
Show me where you have remotely that same courage of your convictions.
Very few people will step up. Like, they'll snipe at you from the mob, but rarely will somebody stand up to you like man to man and let you know. And so that is for me also. That's
wild.
So that's the Tim Kennedy interview that I did, right? Because I know there's a lot of people that are irritated with Tim Kennedy for various reasons, and whether they think he has stolen valor, or they think that he's exaggerated his claims, or whatever else. Tim Kennedy is a fucking badass. Tim Kennedy physically is a bad mother effer. I've met really, really bad dudes.
I want to cross. Not this lifetime.
My old partner in New Mexico would go out on the shooting range with us, and we would be talking about stuff, and we'd be working on a drill, and he would ask permission to speak, which is always really interesting when a Green Beret does that. And he's an 18 Bravo, and he had like 4 combat tours to Africa, before he was working. I think he's gone back to Iraq since then. And he sent me some pictures from some of the mission sets they did in Iraq. And they were really, really flipping wild. Let me just leave it at that. But like a lot of things blowing up and stuff like that. Very kinetic sort of. He's like, we're doing strikes every single night out here that no one's ever heard of. And so anyway, we're out on the range, like at the Army Small Arms range out at White Sands Missile Range, where we're doing our shooting. And somebody was talking about something, and we were doing a drill where we were supposed to like run and do this thing and like, I don't know, run and shoot or something like that. And somebody had set it up. That was one of the SWAT guys. And he goes, do you guys mind if I pipe in here just a little bit of just like some experience that I had? And they were like, yeah, sure. And he's like, I would recommend that you never shoot while you're on the run, that you run first and then shoot. Because whenever I've killed people on the run, it's been really, really easy when they try to shoot back in the middle of it. It's a lot harder when they try to get there first. And he's like, also, if someone's running directly at you, it's the easiest thing in the world. So you need to be zigzagging and changing he's like, it's so easy to track someone, and you should vary your speed from left to right, because if you're just running at a constant pace, all I do is he goes, I just put the nose of the donut right on your shoulder, and it's going to just drop you right in the head. And you're like, wah! Like, and somebody goes, did he just say whenever I've killed people? And I'm like, yeah, you're looking at a dude who's a straight killer. I mean, that's his profession.
And the brilliance of that, you're so much slower when you're running and something, right? Like
there is no running and shooting in any meaningful way. Yeah, you're dead.
No. Yeah. We do the same. Like, I'm relating it to volleyball, which is stupid, but you don't get in your passing form and hold your arms out and try to move, right? You like get there, then do your task. So
yeah, it has to be done. So in any case, Tim Kennedy is a bad dude, and having met really bad dudes before, and he's that. Whether he's got a lot of combat mission time or not, I don't care. I shook his hand. I looked him in the eye. I know physically like what his form, and then I've seen him fight, and everyone else has too. Show me someone that wants to step up to Tim Kennedy. He's like, he came from a freaking boxing gym to come and do the podcast with me. He was like throwing hands into a bag or whatever, or sparring. And then he came, rolled over and hung out with me. And I swear to God, he walked in the door, shook my head, said, thanks for having me over, looked over, goes, is that a steel target in your backyard? I go, yep. He goes, my man. And then he goes, how many you got over here? And I go, I got 4. And he's looking at my pictures of my kids. And he's like, cool. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get ready to go. And he drops trow 90 seconds into my house and puts on some different pants, because he was wearing like some shorts, and he drops down to Ranger panties and then pulls on some pants, and then we like rolled up and did a podcast, like utterly confident. He put his gun. He goes, "Can I leave this here?" I go, "Yeah, no one's coming down." He's like, "All right, cool." And I was like, "Plus, we got some up in the podcast room." And he's like, "Good to go." So, but like a man who is utterly comfortable in the place that he's in. And part of that is kind of a big dog alpha move, and I get what that was, and I don't begrudge him that. That's just how he's wired.
For sure.
He's also really, really positive. He's
surprisingly.
Like, no, not surprisingly. Intentionally.
Yeah, good point. But he's also like his, a lot of guys like that, like they'll come across humble, and he does. But there's an element there where I think he genuinely assesses himself. And you can tell all the internal reflection it's taken him to wake up to what I didn't know when I was young, right? Like those stories weren't, it wasn't that alpha going, hey, I can flex here and I'll show you, how the old dogs really look at themselves. It was pretty powerful perspective.
If you're smart, you know that you were a dipshit when you were younger, like we all were. Like there's an old dog and there's a young dog, and the old dog, the young dog basically runs down the prey, and the old dog shows up where the prey is going to show up because they've done this before. And that's a good lesson to learn. And by the way, you can't become an old dog without being a young dog. So
no, you gotta pursue and do.
You have to earn that.
I was
gray.
Impressed, and I knew very little about Kennedy, right? Like I think I've probably heard the name, but I hadn't watched him fight. I didn't know any context, so it was kind of fun coming in fresh and knowing there was some background drama. But like, okay, let's evaluate this guy. It was cool.
Well, and the man in the arena thing is what, like, it's really specific. Like, if you've never been that guy that stands up and says, I'm willing to take on all this hate, and he's done that. And like I said, I respect, he's always welcome to come back. If he needs something from me, if he ever wants something, like, I'm more than happy to sit down and talk with him. I think he's a really interesting, cool guy who a lot of people hate. And I have also managed to make some people really mad. And like, I have a little bit of experience with that.
You gotta get why that happens sometimes. Like, to the point of show me your enemies. It's a good way of evaluating.
Sometimes it's deserved, and sometimes it's not.
You are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I thought was also really good. At one point, I said, "You ever been on a team where everybody hates you?" And he just looked at me with that thing, like, "I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm not gonna lie to you." And so he was like, "Yeah, dude." And I'm like, I know you have.
Pause.
Because he's got, like, some personalities naturally draw a lot of fire. My wife always asks me, she's like, why is it always so hard for you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And she was like, nothing works easily for you ever. Nothing ever just works out. It always has to be like the hardest possible way to get through it. And I'm like, that's just how, that's the plan, the plan that God put out there for me. Like, I have to struggle and work for even the smallest wins.
Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's how I'm wired.
That's powerful.
I used to get pissed about that, like a young man gets pissed. You're like, this is not just.
Yeah. No.
And
everything.
And a little bit older man is like, this is my lot. Like, this is the bird. This is the cross-eyed bear. I got a cross-eyed bear, and that's what it is. I know its name. Yep. Its name is difficulty. Embrace.
Yeah. And you learn that the sooner I'm attacking this, and the sooner I'm getting, the faster I will get through and find out what it really took. But yeah.
And maybe it won't be as hard next time, but it probably will be. It's probably not going to get easier for some reason. It's going to be
harder because I got this rep.
Dan, the chat has been trying to figure out. They were like, that doesn't sound like Renzo. And I'm looking over at them like,
oh, dude.
I'm like, what do you mean, Renzo?
I should give him a Renzo laugh.
Can you try? Renzo just gave us a cross-eyed bear.
No.
Yeah, I can't even impersonate a Renzo laugh. Ah, that's funny.
Oh, dude, it's wild. I love that, man. That's good.
All right, what else you got in here? What else is going on?
Since I didn't do the official.
No, I knew who. I knew who it was.
Man, life is good. Got back from kind of a wild vacation. That was pretty awesome. Came back to my property. It was just like, oh, this is good to be home. Like, all the spring stuff. Our apples are going nuts. Chickens are taking off. One of our hens went broody, and we just hatched out 10 chicks. So that's been super fun.
Epic. What does that put you up to? Does that put you in
that experience?
That put you in the 40s?
Yeah. No, I culled over a lot of my original birds because I wanted to get down to this one breed.
Okay.
And so we'd harvested many of them for meat, and then I got down to about a dozen over the winter, and this brings us back over 20, which is really where I kind of want to be for the system I have set up. So
I love it.
But I'll probably end up culling a couple roosters out of this batch, so it'll be maybe just under 20. But yeah, good space to be in.
Yeah, well, that's
really fun.
You got almost enough protein daily for your family of 4 if need be, right?
Yeah.
On nothing
it's a big
alone?
step. Yeah, like if you had to tighten your belt, boy, any bit of protein, any bit of fat is so huge. But also like the old style where, hey, instead of raising chickens and we slaughter them all, like, oh, we need a bird for the table is kind of the way I'd like to go about it if we needed to. But these birds have been awesome. It's been super. It's added so much versus the little bit of labor it's taken. So it's been very worthwhile. I was telling one of the chats earlier this week that we had to work out a stealth system to get y'all birds, the stealth chicken coop for the HOA.
There are ways that I could pull it off if I really wanted to. I'm sure you can guess I'm fairly industrious. There's space. So the house that we moved into is it's kind of unique in the area. I don't know that there's another setup much like this. We rented it in a cul-de-sac.
Oh, cool.
I found a spot that backs up to about 300 acres.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
And I'm 6 minutes away from a grocery store, right? But there are 100%, like, I haven't gone out and done the animal survey yet, but I might even put trail cams out there. There is access behind my home to, it's owned. It's individually owned. There are some horses on it that are clearly there for an ag exemption, but they're kind of just like hanging out. They're not like ridden horses. They're not
not purposeful. No.
Yeah, they're just sort of hanging out. And there may be 1 or 2 like longhorns or something like that. There may be some like steers like creeping around out there, but I haven't. I mean, it's there's like a kind of a big field space. It backs up to a freeway, so the freeway's on one side. There's a big road on the other side, and there's some additional. I'm kind of being vague about it, but there's a river that runs through it. a legit river.
Yeah.
So that's not nothing.
Literally?
Yeah, like it's a named river. Like it's semi-navigable. Like during rains, I could definitely kayak down to like San Antonio through it.
Dude. I love that. Yeah.
So there's water back there. There's a pond behind us. The runoff is in there, so that's all pretty cool. There's fish in the pond, not a lot, but there's some fish. But I know that there are deer because I've seen deer scat. I know that there are rabbits because I've seen a bunch of them. There's probably coyotes, and then I've seen on the highway where people have smoked a couple of hogs. So there's definitely hogs that at least are transient in the area.
You got all sorts of stuff there.
So we got all kinds of critters and stuff like that.
That's huge. The hogs have the potential for fat. Like, so if things really go down, right, you have a few resources that are very difficult to get, and getting enough fat and more importantly, more calories, right? So that's a scenario. But the other thing is like salt. And I don't know how that is down where y'all are in the south, but like we have almost no natural resources for salt other than like animal meat, which is not a super high ratio.
Interesting.
We
buy salt by
hickory roots,
poundage. Yeah, my wife buys like all these like ancestral salt. I kid you not. Like we have bags and bags of salt. She takes pinches every morning and drinks it. Yes,
this is good. So sodium chloride, poison, right? But rounded out salts is huge. Has she done Baja Gold?
She hasn't done Baja Gold. We have like Celtic something or other.
Yeah, good sea salt. That stuff comes out of the Sea of Cortez, which has me kind of intrigued. I got some of the agricultural stuff and put it on my apple trees, and they're going nuts. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Interesting.
But I want to get the table stuff, but we have a ton of like Redmonds or something. And it was one of the things I stocked up on because I'm like, hey, this is one resource that we can't just like, hey, water, I can go purify with like the chlorine dioxide system.
Yep. No
problem. And it's way less energy than boiling or, even filtering. But
yeah, we've got a multi-gallon filter.
Like, dude, yeah, I love it. But having that water near you is a huge, huge deal, as well as some land, because you're in the suburbs and it gets like, we're right on the edge of a town too. It's a small town, 10,000. But then like lake behind us, river outlet, hitting a major contributor to the Mississippi.
Yep.
So
no, it's an interesting spot to be, and like it felt like it like the minute I moved here, my blood pressure went down, which was huge because I was living like on a postage stamp next to a bunch of other postage stamps, and like there were some shit bags in my neighborhood that I was watching. There was a dude down the way that like had like Nepal stickers on his car, and he bought like a new Taliban, like like a 1970s Taliban is. It's like a VW van thing, Vanagon or something like that. And I was like, oh shit, like we got the Libyans from Back to the Future living on my damn block. Like they're going to set up, they're trying to get the plutonium or something. So that was really awkward and weird. So I'm like watching that down the street. I'm like, I'm going to end up shooting one of these assholes. They all were sketchy. They would leave at all hours. They would ride on bicycles and they were like flipping cars and selling them. And I'm like, there's shady shit happening here. I don't like this.
You just know
I needed some space.
But it takes so much to getting a little space is a huge investment.
Yeah, and we didn't buy it. I mean, we're just renting here, but at the same time, like it popped up. It was the right thing to do. The yard is we went from being on a 6,800 square foot lot to being like a 12,000 square foot lot, which is huge yard potential. So we got space in the back where the kids can breathe. It definitely and so anyway, behind me there are community areas that are accessible to a lot of people, but if I really wanted to set up a chicken coop, I'm confident I could, and I don't think I'd piss anybody off. I could even get like partial shade or even like full shade if I wanted to put them under some trees. So if I was really motivated, I could do something with animals. I just don't need to push it right now. I'm willing to wait an extra year. I hope I have another year or two, and then I'll be on.
So much. It's so worth doing it in a way that adds sooner. Like there is an ROI, right? But if you can do it in a way like, not that you'll get around the learning curve, but where you design into just not have to grind at it. And like,
I'd rather it not be temporary.
Chickens, like it's maybe 2 minutes a day.
Yeah, right? But I just don't want it to be like something that I grind on and then that I don't.
Low maintenance going forward.
Yeah. And I want to put I'll put the time in the same way that you have. Like I'll put the time in up front, but I'd like it to be somewhere that I'm going to keep.
So worth it.
You know what I mean? Doing it on somebody else's property. That's not my favorite.
It's like, nope. It's got to be mobile. Like I think I built my first chicken tractor for maybe $500, and it's just a little mobile unit. You pick up the back of it, wheels slip under it. You can move it super easy. It housed 8 birds at 3 feet a bird. You move it daily. So it was the ROI was like 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is not anything to my current systems, but it was a great, just step in. It was mine. I could,
tweak it,
put minimal amount into it and then get good output. So
did you ever look at those chicken tubes that people make?
That sounds awesome though.
Do you know what a chicken tube is?
No.
Okay. You're
like next to your garden kind of a deal?
No, you're going to love this. So
chicken tube.
A chicken tube is essentially an enclosed, it's a chicken enclosure, but instead of it all being in like a single space, it's linear. So it's about 12 to 16 inches wide. It's about 12 to 16 inches tall. It's a looped curvature like a tube, and it just runs around the edge of the yard. Okay. And then it also they add elevation into it as well. So they can go up and down, and they'll make a couple of little connections to the tube so that the chickens are always, they're always protected from predators.
Protected.
Right.
Yeah.
So they have no aerial
attacks. One for me, like not leaving them.
Yep.
Exactly. Don't even leave the option. Mm-hmm.
And they're
I've never lost a bird to a predator.
Yeah. And they're just zipping around, and they can run the entire, but you get a lot more linear movement in there. I've seen these advertisements for it. I've seen some like videos of people who made them, and they have them in like regular suburban little backyards. As long as it's not, something that they can't have. They'll have like an area that is the roost, and where they can hang out, and where they've got like sort of like their downtime. But then for exercise, they can run and peck and pluck, and then you can roll the tube to different areas if you want to move it into different parts of your yard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then you have a fixed part that maybe like goes over the top of your porch or something. This will have elevation so they can get high and low and all that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they like to get up at night if they can roost, and they like to lay where it's dark and a little higher. So yeah, that's huge. But that sounds epic. Like giving them that freedom is, very beneficial.
I have no idea how it works. I've just seen the videos, and I've seen a bunch of chickens running around through this like tube shape of chicken wire, which looks super funny to me. So like, I find it amusing. But what is this? Yeah, they're like, you're like chicken tube. And I imagine what you do is you probably buy like a 3 foot tall or a 4 foot tall section of chicken wire, and you lay it all out laterally. Yeah, and then you just roll it underneath on itself, and so it should be really easy to make, I would think. Yeah. Anyway, even if you just needed like a chicken run.
I like hardware cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like hardware cloth for predator proofing, because chicken wire, something the size of coyote or fox could go through pretty good. But
that makes sense.
But no, the premise is cool.
Yeah, it's funny to see it. I guess you could also get tighter chicken wire than just the regular hexagonal stuff. But.
Yeah. Well, if it's like day stuff, if they're only out there during the day, that's not as big a deal. But for night, I like having a little more sturdy stuff. But
one of my dad's neighbor in Arizona has this ridiculously cool. It's like solar timer, full enclosure for his chickens. And it's really, really neat. And so their roost is all powered and whatever else. And I guess it's secure enough that he accidentally locked himself in there one time, because like when the timer went off, it was like he couldn't get out. And so he didn't have a latch to let himself out, and from the inside he hadn't even thought about it when he was building it. So he was locked in there, like awesome. Banging on the door, like, oh shit, what if I die in the chicken coop?
Wait till morning.
I mean, it gets hot in Arizona, so I think it was during the day that he was stuck in there. Like he went. Yeah. Whatever the deal was. Anyway, he's a funny guy. He's my.
That's the thing. I mean, like you see some elaborate chicken coops. Like people build some beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, okay, that's great. I love that you invest out of that. But I'm also like, I really want to design like frugal systems that pay off, and then also are really good for the animals, taking care of them the best way I can.
Yep.
But also don't, like an automatic chicken door is like $500 on its own, right? Like.
Yeah,
and they tend to fail, so you have to do multiples, and like you can tech it out, but it's
Farmer Brook. He's like no half-ass on anything. You can find him on X. Actually, I follow him. It's Farmer Brook. He's my dad's neighbor, but he's also got like a hydroponic system and tilapia. Like he's got the whole thing. Like he's got the big he's like committed to this thing. It's pretty legit.
Exactly. And I love it, but it's like the opposite end of the way. Like I talk with people about aquaponics and hydroponics, and they're like so into it. And my cousin like way into it.
Yeah. I think you also have to smoke weed if you're into that. I think you have to be like you have to be a weed guy.
You have to be like in like my philosophy is like the opposite end of that. Like I don't want something I have to keep tinkering and dialing in. I want it to be self-correcting. I want it to be, I set it up, I design it well, let it run. And it adds more. But if you're having to do all the inputs, like that's how most people garden, right? Like let's put all the right things in, get the soil just right. And you can do that, and you can grow great stuff, but it's a ton of work and maintenance.
Uh-huh.
So
No, well, I'm more like what does my wife call it? The hygge culture and the forest gardening. Like that sounds like my style.
Yeah.
Mostly because that's my wife's style too, though. That's why I'm like that. So she called it.
Yeah, exactly. That's her thing.
It is.
Well, it's so interesting too, because on the extreme of that, like there's this vision that like nature untouched is the perfect. It's like, no, you really do have to work hard to set some of these things up.
So this is
they're going to take some commitment and time and really understanding.
This is something that I learned from an Olympic coach. Check this out. He said it takes tremendous effort to become effortless.
I love that quote, man.
But once you're there, it looks amazing from the outside. You're like, oh, it looks so easy. Like anyone could do it. And you're like, yeah, anyone could. Takes. As long as they put a shitload of work in up front, you can totally do it for like without a lot of work.
But it's such a way to build value and meaning into your life, like following that, right? Like do that hard work, figure it out, go solve something, do it excellently. And then like, oh, you have the reward of that, and you get to reap the reward of the abundance that comes out of it. So
I'm showing on the screen really cool. Right now. I'm showing the studio. Like this took a lot of work to put it together, but I really like sitting in my office every day. Like I never am like, it's work time. I'm like, I get to go hang out in that cool thing that I created and do the thing that I do, which is awesome. You know, there's the reward. Oftentimes is the actual product that you made. If you're that kind of guy. Yeah.
I was talking with my coworker today. You did such a good job keeping the continuity. Like as you moved and everything, like the studio set up and like,
nobody knew.
Very consistent. No.
I got one. One of our gals is a little bit too fixated on what's going on, and they were like, "Kyle's lighting is off," and I was like, "Oh shoot! Someone noticed the lighting. I didn't dial it in." I was looking at the old shows and trying to like cue off. The difference is I can't always see from monitor to monitor. It actually broadcasts out and it gets encoded differently.
Your display chain.
Yeah, it's not just the display even though. It's actually the software encoders that happen on YouTube and on Rumble and so on. They actually, there's a difference between what I color corrected to here and what it goes out to there. And so there's an encoding issue.
Wild.
But it was still pretty darn close. Yeah. And I recognized that I was like, oh, it's a little bit too hot on one of these lights. I could tell that it was. But I've actually changed it since I've been here, and I've thrown more light into the room, and I actually moved my lighting rig up by about 20 or 30 inches. I wanted it to be a lot higher, so it's much more of a natural light in here.
Yeah.
And but like the continuity, dude, that continuity, like only somebody who really knows what was going on. I lined up my shots to be the same, so I was like, okay, the shot is going to have the same corners. I'm going to have my angles.
Here it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That takes a lot.
You know.
Well, I don't have to take up the line for the whole night, dude. But I wanted to at least call in again and catch up a bit. So
it was enjoyable talking to you. Now I have I'll tell you the one last little thing that Farmer Brooke did not have in his toolkit that I shared with him. He was like, he goes, I think I have a coyote that got one of my birds, and it was when it was like out. I think they had some ducks. They like maybe it was one of their ducks or something. They have some ducks as well, I think. And so anyway, they had a bird that got snatched by one of these coyotes, and he was like, what's the answer? And I'm like, Ruger American with a suppressor, 300 blackout. You could do a single shot bolt and just put that effer down. And then because you can't shoot in that neighborhood. You can't shoot in the neighborhood. Their neighborhood, everybody has like 2, 3, 5 acres, but you're still not supposed to shoot. Is technically still in the city limits, so you don't really want to get into that. But you also don't want something running off with your animals you spend all the time with. And I'm like, the Ruger American, like you're talking about an entry-level gun with an entry-level suppressor on a bolt gun, you can get in there for like $1,000 all told. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 1,200. Awesome. And he was just laughing.
That's perfect. My solution for that now, I use a pre-charged pneumatic, like a 25 caliber air gun.
Okay.
But that thing, like it's so quiet, and I would not hesitate to take that on a coyote if it was within 50 yards or less.
Yeah, I believe it. I know people do a lot of good work with pneumatics. I'll tell you the scariest thing in the world. I put a I need to go out and shoot this and show you guys. I'll have some local stuff. I have the stupidest, most expensive like assassin weapon that's ever been put together. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
It is a $3,000 folding pistol. Okay, so it has like a brace, and not a stock. It's an 8-inch barrel. Yep. The rate of twist is 1 to 3, so it's a super fast turning, subsonic shooting, 300 blackout. Usually the 300 blackout shoots like 1 to 5, and sometimes as much as like 1 to 7. This turns it at 1 to 3, so it's a really fast rate of twist,
spinning.
super fast for tightness. And I have a high volume titanium lightweight fast thread can that I can throw on there in about 2 seconds. It's a Nomad titanium made by Dead Air. And so it's not like super high tech stuff, but it's really, really light compared to what it could be. And it's a fat high volume. So it's like a 1 3/4 instead of a 1.5 inch thickness, or outer diameter.
Nice.
And I got
just a lot more air to damp there.
2.5 to 10x scope on there. That was probably like $1,000. It's a $3,000 bolt action magazine fed like AR manual of arms. It's made by a company called Q. They do really weird stuff, and it's called the Mini Fix. Are you familiar with Q?
Mm-hmm. No,
they're out of New Hampshire. Check them out.
I literally just purchased my first firearm this year. So
okay, if you want to get into like the really weird stuff that like if you're like a real gun nerdy kind of person, and you want to get to like where the kind of like the cool kids were buying Q stuff for a while. They make a gun called the Honey Badger that they made for special ops. They made one that's called the Sugar Weasel. But the Fix was their idea. They were like, hey, there's basically 2 types of rifles in the bolt gun world. And one of them is called Remington 700. And the other one is like a Mauser action. And that's it.
Yeah, it's basically the same. Yep.
And the Remington 700 is like a reimagining of the Mauser. So you basically all have like Mauser style actions, and they could either be redone in like the 1940s or they're redone in like the 1960s. And that's
just all that.
And they're like
same design premise through all that. Yeah.
All the way through. And these guys are like, why do we all assume that it has to be based on a Remington 700 model? Why don't we just start from a gun and design it the way if we were going to just make a gun and we didn't know what they were doing out there? And so their bolt gun has a 45 degree lever throw. It has, it rides on rails. So usually what happens is your bolt has like some like, they have these locking lugs, and the lugs like are drilled into the side of the receiver, and then they slide in.
You're fixed the whole. Yeah.
The way this one is done is that the rails are actually the same way that your slide on a handgun are. They're like coming out of the bottom of the frame.
Whoa.
So they built a monolithic
on a bolt action. That's
so the entire bolt rides on rails, right? And it's so the bolt it's a one piece. The rail is monolithic to the receiver. The receiver, you can actually change out the barrel with hand tools, which I've done, and you can swap calibers as long as the same. You can swap out the bolt face. So the one I have, I've got a barrel that is a 6.5 Creedmoor and a 308. I have 2 different very expensive barrels for it, and you can swap those suckers out. like one was like $890 or something like that, and the other one was like $750 or some stupid thing. They're both made by Proof Research. So Montana, stupid guts. This is a $3,000 rifle, and I bought another $800 or $900 barrel for the damn thing.
Man, but I can round it out. You got to round it out.
Yeah, now it's like a $4,000 rifle with a $1,000 scope on top of it and a $1,000 suppressor on the end of it. So it's not a cheap coyote tool. But I put a microphone, that was about 8 inches in front of the suppressor. So I mic'd up at the range when I was in New Mexico, and I laid down and I fired a couple of rounds of subsonic 300 blackout. And the bolt action, which is about 2.5 feet away from where the microphone is louder than the sound of the rifle being fired.
No.
I shit you not.
Way.
Like, that is not an exaggeration. And when you shoot it, you just laugh like a child.
Wild.
That's the loudest thing is actually you laughing like a retard. Because it's retarded quiet.
I know that. Yeah, this is that exact experience.
Yeah.
Hearing a round hit the target. Yeah, it's cool.
And if you shoot something that's not like steel, like, I shot steel as well, but when you go out there and you shoot just like dirt, it's like, it goes like, it just makes a puff noise. You're like, and then it just goes like, and you hear it like hit the dirt, and you're like, shut up. I heard the bullet hit the dirt. That's how quiet it was. It's dumb.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And you could load it up with like 30 rounds. So you could sit there. I told my neighbor, I'm like, it's so stupid quiet that this is exactly true. If I was standing in my garage and I shot somebody in my driveway, my neighbor who was in his garage would not know what happened. That's how quiet it is.
Just awesome.
No exaggeration.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's huge. Well, I love the high capacity mag too, because it's like I ended up with the what is it, a PMR 30. It was like a 22 mag.
I know.
But it's 30 rounds in the clip, and I'm like, this is so nice that one, it shoots really smooth. It's loud, but I already have a quiet tool, so this just, I don't know, having that many.
Doesn't it also have like the ergonomics of gripping
I don't have to worry about.
It's like gripping a VHS tape. It's a Kel-Tec, isn't
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah. Those I
Yep.
despise holding them. They make me feel bad about my hands.
I love this. I love this. Go with the Smith & Wesson then. That's fine. You get all the weight.
Yeah, no, I just think it's really funny.
For me, it's like, oh, this is light, and I don't have to lug it. I'm great with this.
Yeah, no, it's definitely light.
But I have not had much to compare it to, so.
Well, when you start shooting ergonomically designed guns, you're going to be like, what's wrong with me? Why did I like that? But it's the same reason that guys like will shoot a high point. And I'd be like, do you really have 5 high points? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, all of your guns combined are not even as expensive as this one gun that I'm holding right now. And they're like, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Hashtag winning.
Still getting it done. Like, you know what? If you can hit the target, you hit the target. Who cares? It's very funny.
Yeah.
So you're shooting 22 mags.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You can zap all kinds of stuff.
The start. So I was really happy. So going on our vacation, I just wanted to have something that was more than bear spray, was a lot of it. And then, having something available for the home. So I took the girls and the wife out to the range last weekend and just got them familiar, and there's good entry into getting comfortable with that stuff. So
always start with small stuff. All my girls started on 22s. That's the right answer. Make them not scared. And then today at dinner, my son said something that was very complimentary. I can't remember what it was. And I said, oh, I know what it was. My girls all got like chocolate pretzels for dessert. And I was like, hey.
Oh gosh.
I reached over to my middle daughter and I'm like, is that for me? And she was like, no, Dad, that's mine. And my son immediately was like, Dad, you can have mine. And I was like, well done, son. That's how you stay in the will. That's how you get first position. And then my girls are like, what's a will, Dad?
What's going on
a
here?
will? And I'm like, that's how we divvy up the inheritance. And they're like, what's an inheritance? Yeah. I'm like, well, one day when your dad dies, all my stuff is going to go to somebody. And now it's going to go to Bodie because of what he just did with the pretzel. And they're like, oh, when is that going to be? I'm like, hopefully a long time from now.
we gotta time this out.
Yeah.
Make it good.
Well, and my other daughter, my oldest, looks at me and she goes, well, by then I should have a lot of kids. And I'm like, look, honey, I didn't buy a bunch of guns for you not to have a bunch of kids. So yeah, like that's the plan. I got guns for all the grandkids. You could all have as many kids as you want and it'll still all have enough guns for all your kids. That's how Dad buys guns. I was like, the only thing we have to figure out is who's going to get the 45-70. And she was like, what is that? Which one is that? Is that the red one? And I'm like, red one? I don't think I have any red guns. I'm like, no, it's green. And she's like, did you spray paint it? And I'm like, no, those are the ARs. Like, honey, I'll break it in. You're 8. Take it easy, okay? Give you the freaking breakdown.
Just slow your roll.
Yeah, slow your roll. I've got a freaking buffalo gun. I got the same gun that Chris Pratt had in, what was the movie? The dinosaur one? The Jurassic Park, like 11.
Oh.
You remember?
Yeah, whatever the remake. Yeah,
I have that.
I don't remember the title of it, but yeah.
So I've got a stainless steel lever action, like rail topped, and then I have a suppressor for it. Because I got a suppressor for every caliber that I own. I don't own a single weapon except a shotgun that I can't suppress. So shooting like a 600 grain bullet. You know what your 22s are. Imagine a 600 grain bullet.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna rip the air. Well, and to your point, I love the statement too of just making it easier to practice and easier on the range and everybody around. Like that's such a good premise for suppressors that like nobody's like, oh, they're dangerous. Like, okay, most suppressors are knocking down your decibels by at most 25%. Maybe it's gotten a lot better.
No, and anything that's supersonic,
unless you're doing something very specific.
Yeah, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah, it's still gonna crack. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
most of them are not even hearing safe for like for the high speed. Like if you're shooting a 308, very few of them are hearing safe for like extended shooting. 5.56, it's very hard to knock them down to hearing safe. 22 is fun. 22s are giggles. I'll shoot 22s all day without ears, but yeah, I honestly I don't want to shoot with people who don't have suppressors anymore. I just don't want to do it.
No, it just gets unpleasant, especially if you're putting more than like, a handful of rounds. Like, okay, fine. But if you're gonna do work at it, then you might as well make it not.
If we're gonna be shooting for a little while, we've got to take down the decibels. Otherwise, you're an a-hole. And it's like if I want to go hunting with people, like I want you to have. I'll put my suppressors on your guns. That's what I think, because it's inevitably I'm not gonna have ears on, and someone's gonna pull a trigger next to me.
Exactly.
I did that in Montana. My buddy shot, dude, I'll tell you what, guy on the right shoots a 300 Win Mag, takes down a deer. Guy on my left misses his deer with his 30-06. shot again, missed it again, shot it again. So I got 3 30-06 unprotected in one ear and a 300 Win Mag on the right ear. And I was like, oh, you assholes.
Why is my head ringing?
Yeah, it was brutal. And actually my body actually tensed up to the point where I feel like do you ever have a loud sound that doesn't impact you the way that it should? You're like, that should have hurt way worse. Something closed up. I might have a special X-Men modification for that, but yeah,
just mute it all down.
Yeah, all right, just like secreted a bunch of earwax or something really gross, and like it just solved my problem.
Yep.
People don't realize this.
Knocked it down, yeah.
They put the short act and they put the safe act both into the big beautiful bill. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
They got it in.
No, I did not.
So if you follow Mike,
wild.
If you follow Mike Henry, Mr. Guns and Gear, he just did a video on this. But yeah, they will remove short-barreled rifles and shotguns, and they will remove suppressors from the NFA if this BBB thing passes as it's written right now.
Wow,
that'd be huge. Isn't
that interesting?
I think
Wisconsin is still like really, really limited on suppressors. Like they're well, not even getting into NFA and ATF federal stuff.
The states can still screw you, but at the end of the day, if you can own them, then it'll make it much easier. And and I just realized if I've got I got 14 cans, so that means I've got about $2,800 and change wrapped up in suppressor taxes only. So that's not too bad. Could be worse. I know guys that have like 100 items though that they paid taxes on. You're like, dude, what? 100 items at $200.
It gets so wild.
Yeah, it immediately gets stupid.
It's not like you can't make priority choices, but for me, that one's like it does end up down the list. Unfortunately,
my SF buddy kicked me off the ledge. He's just like, here's the deal, dude. Buy all your cans right now. You're going to want them. This was back when it was like 15, 18 months before you'd get them. So you'd buy them. You'd give them all your money. Then you'd give them a tax stamp. Then you would wait for them to cash your check. And then you would wait for like months and months for them to do the papers. And you're like,
oh my goodness.
Nobody hates the ATF the way that like people who bought stuff through the NFA, you know, when they were not going fast. So in any case, yeah.
So yeah,
but I bought 6 in my first thing. He's just like, add them to your cart, just buy them, like just man up. Can you afford it? And I'm like,
get them going.
So I just bought it. I was glad I did. And I mean,
this is how I do apple trees. Like buy them now, plant them. It'll be 3 to 5.
That's right.
But it will pay off.
Yeah, and then when you're eating apples, you're like, I'm so glad I had those apple tree plantings 3 to 5 years ago. You're like Danny Appleseed out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Are you making cider?
I tell you, there's nothing like fruit you grow. No, I like eating fresh. Like this will be our first year getting a serious harvest out of them.
Okay.
But the couple times we've gotten them off the tree, like one of them is my favorite food, period. And the others are just, they blow away any other apple I've had. Like incredible.
That's pretty legit.
Which is funny because I'm not even like I wouldn't buy an apple in the store. Like it doesn't appeal to me. And it wouldn't have even before I grew them.
Yeah, I'm not an apple guy.
Now I'm like, this is what I want to eat.
Do you think that's
it's crazy?
Was that what Johnny Appleseed was up to? He figured out the hack. If you grow your own, they're legit.
He got flipped and he's like, I must run with this mission.
He was also a drunk, right? Wasn't that the story that he was just like
he had. I'm sure either he was like Abe Lincoln or he was Alexander Jackson or something.
All right, I'm giving you a homework assignment. Dan, your assignment is to come back and give me a Johnny Appleseed, like, no shit, here's the real story. I know you can do this.
Okay.
And as an Apple guy, that seems like something you should now be able to do. You should be able to, like, regale people.
I probably should have that.
Put that in. You need that in your tool belt.
Let me tell you about Apple started.
Yeah. Like, let me tell you about American
Research project
apples.
Accepted.
Okay, good deal. And you don't have to write it, and you don't have to format it. You can literally come give it to me in audible form, and we can even cut it out and make it.
So this gets stream of consciousness.
Yeah. It doesn't have to. And honestly, have you ever seen Drunken History? You ever seen those? Did you ever see that show?
No.
God, it's really funny. Awesome. Okay, so that's a YouTube look for you. Drunken History. I'm sure there's some episodes that are out there. They would get famous actors to get absolutely hammered, and then they would have them recount the tales from history with like factually accurate stuff, but they'd be kind of like being silly about it because they were drunk. And so they were like real casual about it. And they're like, anyway, then George Washington was like, yo, bro, it's really fucking cold. Like, we got to probably get some of these. We got a winter here. And then he's like, all of his guys were like, yeah, this sucks. We don't want to be here anymore. And so what they would do, then they would do historical reenactors that were mouthing the words that were being said by the drunk person. So they had like voiceover of the drunk guy giving the story at the same time.
That is epic.
It's really, really, really well done. Yes. We'll do like a version of that if you want, of the Johnny Appleseed story.
All right. Excellent. I'm down.
Apparently Tracy's a fan of drunken history. She knows what I'm talking about. It's really, really well done.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw that. It makes me feel like I'm like some kind of like slovenly lout that's like watching drunk history, but it was good.
Well, you first brought to mind like the epic rap battles of history or whatever. Some of those had just belly rolling back in the day, but you ever see those? Yeah,
and how about my wife and I were talking about this the other day. How about celebrity death matches? You remember those, the claymation ones?
Dude, yeah. I think I heard about them more than I ever watched them. Like I was high school or something. I don't think we even had a TV then. So
I mean, they're really dumb, but they're also like kind of great. I kind of want to like play a celebrity death. I don't know if I would get like dinged on copyright, but I kind of want to play. There's got to be hundreds of them.
That'd be epic. Oh, it's got to be.
Maybe I could do.
At this point, I wonder if they would copyright that or not. That seems a stretch.
They copyright everything. Like you'd be shocked about how much. But I wonder if I can get like a couple of seasons of Celebrity Deathmatch, and then if I could definitely stream it to Rumble. Nobody would stop me.
That would be awesome.
We could have everybody just call in and talk through the Celebrity Deathmatch, and they probably don't remember who won because I don't remember who won. Nobody knows.
No, I wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah,
but, they were a thing though.
Yeah, there were some funny things that happened before we went all digital and everybody had access to everything immediately. You used to have to wait for those.
Yeah, dude, and it was like those were more formative. Like I remember quotes from the movies even through the 90s and other stuff. Like it was a different experience than just the bombardment of stuff now, I think.
Yeah, we didn't celebrate Juneteenth.
Very few.
My buddy, by the way, sent me my buddy who's a federal employee sent me a text message this morning, and he said, "Happy Toyota-thon," which is why I started the show the way I did this morning. Because I was like,
nice.
I'm not doing Juneteenth. I'm not doing Juneteenth. I think it's stupid. Nope. I'm gonna do Toyota-thon.
Let's all celebrate something that we don't really know what we're celebrating. Like it's on its face that we're not celebrating the thing that's officially the thing. Like, what is it really about?
The celebration itself is dumb. Like Juneteenth is dumb. First of all, it's dumb the way they named it because it's June 19th, not Juneteenth. It's not
clever.
That's already dumb.
Exactly.
It's also like 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, it was a guy showing up to a bunch of people that didn't get the message. And so it's kind of like, hey, it's an acknowledgement that at the farthest end of the territory, these a-holes didn't get the message, or the Pony Express guys decided not to give it to them or whatever. And so they're like, hey, by the way, you've been free for 3 years. You've been working for free. And people were like, hooray, or whatever. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. It's a dumb holiday.
We should celebrate this. Like, no, it's stupid.
Yeah, you're stupid.
I'm already done with like Hallmark holidays in general. And then you get to stupid federal holidays and like, no. I
don't like holidays. I don't like any of it. I just want to have regular days. I just want to have days where I'm just doing what I normally do.
I have a week. I have things I want to do. I don't want to walk into the bank shut down. What's going on?
Yeah, what are you guys taking the day off for? Who told you that was okay? I agree. Yeah.
There was a point where I like unchecked Google calendars when like the Biden administration had them putting so many wild things on there. I was like, this is stupid. I don't even want to see this every day. So I like completely unchecked the holidays and was surprised every time that one came up.
I had a number of people.
Christmas.
Yeah, people would be the normal holidays. But I had people like you're not a pagan. Yeah. But I had people asking me like, hey, are you going to work on Columbus Day? And I'm like, Columbus Day? Like when the shit is that?
What is
yeah. What kind of grown-up that's not in like second grade knows when Columbus Day is, other than federal employees who are like waiting for their next day off, which is always a couple of weeks away?
Exactly. Yeah.
Grown-ups don't know.
I think I remember the first like, what's the Earth Day thing?
Earth Day.
Is it Earth Day?
Yeah.
What do you even call that? Yeah.
That's how lazy they were. They were like, it's a day celebrating the Earth.
What? The Earth is here.
You're gonna go plant a seedling.
Go plant trees. Like, do you know how many trees squirrels plant? Like in a season?
Yeah. And how many trees do birds plant with their butts?
Exactly. There's a good mechanism for accomplishing this end.
Yeah, or we could send a bunch of like
$10 a plant to the ground.
Yeah, or we can go send like a bunch of like freaking 10-year-olds outside to like dig not deep enough and put some non-sustainable thing that's not going to make it through the season because they're immediately going to forget about it, like because tomorrow's not Earth Day. No, that's Arbor Day. Exactly. I'm thinking of planting trees on Arbor Day, which is a different day than Earth Day, by the way. Arbor Day, remember?
Yeah. That's why I'm confused. Yes. Yeah. What in the world?
I don't know. And I don't know what Cinco de Mayo is. I mean, I know
the start of.
I know what day it is, but I don't know what it means, and I don't know. I don't know what it celebrates.
I'll get behind cultural ones in general. I think Cinco de Mayo is a little bit like,
It's a little obscure because it's not our holiday.
Yeah. Right. But like, okay, yeah, the Japanese celebrate like Koi no Bodhi, right? Where you're putting up flyers of fish. Like, okay, great, do your thing.
I don't know what that is.
Do your culture.
I've never
great.
Heard of that. That sounds like Kwanzaa.
It's like Day of the Carp. Yeah. Koi is their carp. Koi no Bodhi. Day of the anyway.
Okay. I don't like carp either.
It's ridiculous.
They're like they're like a fish made of oatmeal meat. It's gross.
There are some you could smoke long enough and they'll get decent, but I'd much rather do catfish. So
I don't even like eating. I don't even eat fish. Exactly. I don't want to eat any fish. I don't even like the ones like the only fish I like are hunting other fish. Like I eat apex fish. I think. Yes. Right.
Nice. Pike.
I've never had pike, but I imagine I would be okay with it because I like things like shark. I like big tuna, like the big pelagics. I'm into it. I could get behind that.
Pike up here are like they're like barracuda.
Okay. I know what they are. So my dad grew up in Rhineland.
But yeah, they're good. A lot of guys up here like snub their nose. And it's like if it's not walleye, it's not good fish. It's like, dude, I could feed you pike and you wouldn't know from walleye. So.
Well, anyway, so I have.
You just have to fillet them more.
I grew up with the stories of like huge muskies and northerns and whatnot, and so yeah,
yeah, you had roots up here. I forget that.
Yeah. I used to go up to Eagle River. I swam across a Cranberry Lake one time, and I think I set the lake record. Not that anybody kept it, but if there was a lake record, I set it. I guarantee you I set it because I went super fast. I was scared shitless. I'm terrified of fish in the water.
Just go.
I was like 16.
Making enough noise. They're not coming near.
Okay, you want to hear the lake story because it's actually pretty funny. I've got my dad is one of many brothers. So Uncle John, Uncle Mark, Uncle Mike, and then my dad. My dad's Charlie. And then my aunt Kathy and my grandmother at the time, they were all up in Eagle River, and we were all on one of the lakes out there, and I think it was called Cranberry Lake. I just that's what's in my head. And we were on a little.
No,
is that a real lake? Is that a real lake?
Yeah, that's a real lake.
Okay, and there's like an island in the middle of it where there's like some cabins. Does it sound right?
I think I'm thinking of the same lake. There's a bunch of names, lakes with the same names up here, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so we went and we were staying in the cabins as families. So all of our families are up there, and we had rented like a pontoon boat, I think, that we had like tied up on the dock, and there was a dock on the other side where like the people who ran the camp or whatever it was had their house and whatever the parking lot was, and then you'd take the boat out to the island, and then you could stay on the cabins. So that's what we were doing. And so my uncle was shit talking at night around the fire. And my dad was bragging about what a good swimmer I was. And this is never a good recipe because it's always going to involve the bet that I have to you have to go capitalize on your dad talking shit. Go fulfill
and then prove your dad right.
Right. So my uncle is like shit talking, right? And he's like, here's the deal. He's like, do you think you could swim from this side over to the other end of the lake? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. And I eyeballed it, and it was, it wasn't bad. It was like 1,000 or something like that, 1,000 yards. And but it was probably, to be honest, it was probably like 600 or 650.
Yeah, it always looks way closer than it actually.
No, I thought it was longer than it was. Like it was actually like based on the time, it had to be a lot less. So he was like, he's like, how fast do you think you could swim that? And I look over and I'm like, I don't know. Probably like 7 or 8 minutes. And he was like, bullshit, there's no way, He's like, I was like, well, how long do you think it would take? And my dad's like, if he says he could do it in 7 or 8 minutes, he could do it in 7 or 8 minutes. And my uncle's like, no way. It's going to take him 20 minutes at least. If he even makes it, right? And so they get into this shit talking Wisconsin men thing where they're betting on proposition betting on me hypothetically swimming tomorrow across the lake. All right. So we come to the terms of the bet, which is that my uncle is willing to bet me that I cannot swim it in less than 20 minutes. And for every, was that right? Or maybe it was 15 minutes. I think it was 15 minutes is what he said. He's like, there's no way you can do it in less than 15. For every minute less than 15, I'll give you $20. And for every minute over 15, you have to pay me $20. We'll cap it at $100 either way.
That's awesome.
Okay, so that was the bet. So the bet was as much as $100, 15 minutes, swim across the lake, whatever. So I like got the whole family got there, and everyone gets out on the boat. Grandma's on the boat, like uncles are on the boat, all the cousins are on the boat, you know, all my siblings are on the boat. And they're all hanging out on there, and I go and I run to the edge of the dock, and I dove off the dock, and I almost broke my fucking neck because I hit the bottom of the lake because it was super shallow. Yeah, and I did like a long ass dive, and I was gonna go really deep because I was gonna get a shitload out of my dive. So I was like, bam, like mud in my head. So I get back up, and I'm like, start it over, and they're all laughing or whatever. And they're like, yeah, auspicious start. And so I get back, I do like a running thing, I dive off the dock. They start the thing, and and the rule was, because we thought we might get hit with like jet skis and stuff, is that they had to actually put a pontoon boat on one side, and there was like a little motorboat on the other side, and so they were like mirroring me, so I didn't get hit by anybody.
Nice.
So yeah,
'cause there's some traffic there.
There was some traffic for sure. And so anyway, so I go across it, and I think I finished it in like 7 minutes and 45 seconds. Like I smoked it, and and my heart rate was probably like 220 beats a minute. I'm just like, rah! Like I swam so fast. I was all freaked out because I kept thinking there were fish underneath me, but it was just my own shadow. Because the light was,
did you get the glimpse?
Yeah, I'm just catching glimpses of stuff in the dark, and I'm like, oh shit, there's gonna be a muskie down there. Like there were muskies in that lake. They had big, you know, like mounted muskies up on the wall, and they were like 6-7 foot long.
Big clear water lakes.
Oh, scary as shit. So yeah,
those are gnarly, dude. Those are gnarly.
So 7:45 ish or whatever it was like sub 8 minutes. So I smoked it, and I hit the thing, and I got up. My uncle looked crestfallen, and so he like climbed out, and they're like, hey, you asshole, pay him his money, pay that boy his money or whatever. And he like gave me $100 there on the dock. It was funny. Went into the family lore. It was great.
Oh, dude, that's epic.
Yeah, sometimes
so good.
Sometimes you get something, and I was like primed. You know, I was swimming 20 plus hours a week.
Oh yeah, just crank.
Yeah, I was terrified I was going to lose a toe. You know, because you always heard the stories of some little girl, right, who had the sparkly
hand dangling over the boat.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Rings. Yep.
I don't know if those are
rings.
Are they all made up? Are those all made up stories, you think?
I think there's some good urban legend to them, but there's definitely some reality too. Like those. Yeah. I mean, you think of what fish will go after sometimes, even just like metal hook or whatever. But
yeah, you throw a daredevil in it, it's like red and silver little daredevil. Like it's happening. Like you're gonna hit
the flash and
yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that everybody who's still in the chat that's listening, they're just like they're just eavesdropping on two dudes just bullshitting about stuff. I like that. Now I lost you. Where'd you go?
Like I could swim hard, but I was not confident I was going to get there and back without needing to like float, and floating was not happening at the time. So.
Yeah, no, you got to know what you're getting into. I had a lifetime of spending a lot of time in water, so it was like that was. Yeah. I actually had a really funny moment when I was at the FBI Academy. This is like one of those like humble braggy moments, but like I had a buddy that was a big SWAT guy, and he looked like, you know, the wrestler Goldberg. Oh. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He's a professional wrestler. He has like no neck. He just has like lats that go up to his ears. Freakish. Yeah. So this guy's like 6'1" and like 275, and he's probably like a 8% body fat or less. Oh. You know?
Yep.
Just freak. Just an absolute freak. And I remember the first time I saw him in the academy, he's like looking over at me, and he like looks over at me, and I'm standing in the hallway, and I'm super aggressive. Like this won't shock you, but I'm super aggressive with people I don't know that like look like they're not sure what's going on. So I've got this dude.
You got to draw that line, right? Yeah, really.
He looks like a WWF fighter. He looks confused. And I know that he's like very uncomfortable because like everyone's being really polite, and he's kind of an outdoor. I can tell he's an outdoor dog, and he's used to be treating roughly. Like he's not used to people being like, "Oh, how you doing, sir? Like, let's go." He's like an outdoor dog.
In the classroom. Yeah. No,
So
yeah.
he's standing in the middle of this hallway and he looks over at me and it's like, I don't know, like 7 o'clock at night on the end of the first day. So we get out of the classrooms, we're all standing there and everyone's like going to their dorm rooms and he's just looking around like all these people that are like super polite. Like everyone's wearing khakis and all this other stuff. And he's probably never done any of that. And I look at him and I go, what are you looking at, you fat fuck? And he looks at me like I slapped him in the face, and then he comes running up to me and he gives me this big bear hug. He goes, what are we doing here, brother? He's like, I don't understand what's happening.
This is not normal.
Yeah, he was totally. He'd been working. I found out he'd been working like night shift for like 6 years doing narcotics, and all he did was like arrest people and like fight with bad guys and stuff. Like that was all he did.
Oh god,
he was so confused and out of his element. We just called him the freak, because it's like, what else you gonna do? But he started something in the pool because he's a big dude and he's used to like being probably like top dog in a lot of physical altercations. He used to play. He played football for Purdue. I think he was like a linebacker. I mean, he's a freak. He's super strong.
Dude.
D1 football player, right? And then a couple years later, and still doing weights. And anyway, he was in the pool, and he gave me this dirty look, and I flicked him off. and so he like swam at me, and I wrapped him up, and I took him to the bottom. And my life was pool stuff, and I did water con for a living, literally for a living for a couple years. So I drag him down to the bottom and I'm just holding on to him until I can feel the panic in the top of his shaved head, like is like reaching the top of his skull and he doesn't know if he's going to survive or not. And so I kicked him free and I let him swim up to the top and I'm just laying on the back with like my nose plugged. And his buddy looks down at me and I flicked him off and I gestured him to come down and he like shook his head like, nuh-uh. And I'm just laying down there at the bottom of 9 feet. And that dude was like, he got out of the water. He was like, no more. Like, I'm not playing.
Not my element.
He's like, you're a freak, dude.
I love it.
He's like, how did you do that? And I was like, oh, you're in my world, man. I was like, everything about that world is mine. All of it. I own you in there. So, and then I went and played with the Marines a little bit, made fun of them for not being good swimmers. I'm not normal.
It's so back to your point of like, right, it takes tremendous effort. Like that is the result when you make something your element.
That's right.
This is now my home.
Thousands and thousands of hours. It is my place. Even in like if you drop me in the water and if I was dead asleep and I hit the water and I didn't know where I was, like I would instinctively tread, figure out where I was, orient, and go. Actually, I had a backup plan when I used to go deep sea fishing with my buddy, because he would always try to push his boat further than it could go, and it was just a pair of fins and a mask.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
And he was like, what happens if I get stuck out here? And I'm like, I'm swimming to shore.
You're on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own, asshole.
A couple days.
My buddy looked like a poor man's Mark McGuire, if people could imagine that. So he had like the goatee and a shaved head. He was an Irish guy. And I'm like, Marvin, I'll just leave your ass out here. I'm going to swim to shore. I don't know what you're going to do. you got a $50,000 boat you got to deal with. I just got these fins. So I'm just going to swim in. He was like, what if there's sharks? I was like, that sounds like your problem, dude. I'm going to just swim. They're not going to bother me. I'm just a regular dude in the water.
Just cruising.
Yep. I'll carry that for life. So of course, like we were talking about sins that you pay for. My daughters are like, one of them is deathly afraid of the water, and they're just not amphibious, and so I've got a lot of work in front of me. So I got to pay for that.
Not their thing.
I got cocky, I guess.
It took me to get mine started like quite a while, and then I finally gave up on like the swim lessons. I'm like, you're spending time with dad in the water, and it was rocky at times. We ended up having fun, and they got it figured out. And now we've got like, to me, the important strokes. Like the stuff you're going to use. Scissor and not some crawl or something out there. So yeah, it's been fun. Now they're in the lake all the time, but
that's good too. Though being in the lake.
A while to start.
Yeah. Well, see, we had a weird start. My brother actually, my one brother who's one younger than me, he actually drowned when I was 3 and a half, something like that. But like, was revived in an ambulance and he was fine. And he's an asshole that lives in California, so he's okay. But
that might have been the start of the brain damage.
Yeah, he's just been a jerk for a long time, but it could have been that.
See?
He actually used to be a sweet, kind of a sweet kid. He was always a little selfish, but anyway, like, so my parents were like, oh shoot, we had a kid drown, like everybody will now be a swimmer. And so we all swam competitively, which was, blessing and a curse.
Dude. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a thing.
You get thrown into it. but if it suits you, it is a good outcome. That's pretty cool.
I found out that Tim Kennedy was a competitive swimmer, and his dad made him stop because he was like, "You're going to be too short to win." The first time that he lost his first race, his dad's like, "What's your next plan? Because you suck. Like you're not going to be." He's like, you're not going to be tall enough to be capable at a high level, which is like, that's real. Like nobody told me that.
Yeah. No, there's physical limitations at this point there. Yeah.
Because he's what? He's probably like 5'10", 5'11".
And flipper feet.
Yeah. And his dad was just like, it's not happening for you. So what's up next? And I guess his brother, one of his brothers like was a scholarship swimmer too. Is like 6'4", and like Tim's not that. And I'm like, dude, we connected immediately about that too. That's another thing. You can't help it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's weird how height specific some sports are, right? And like it's not the only thing, but swimming surprisingly is.
Oh, well, every time you hit a wall, somebody gets 8 free inches, and if you hit the wall 20 times, like that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no matter how efficient you are.
And the arm length factor compounds, right? For your height, you're getting all that wingspan too. So
So the best thing about going through the PJ dive program that I went through, and this was actually one of the funnier moments that I had. All of the purebred swimmers failed because they'd never done any running and they'd never done any like heavy weight movement. And so they were all like obliterated. Like they were awesome in the water and they're super fast and powerful. They had good lungs, but they got just eliminated by being landed.
Stamina.
No, well, it wasn't even that. It was like the impact was enough to break them.
Really?
So they all, because we ran until everybody had like shin splints or broken legs or whatever. Like that was a thing. I had multiple breaks in my right leg, and I think I had 3 broken bones at one point in time. Like 3 of my 4 lower, like I had like 2 tibs and a fib were like stress fractured, like at once.
Dude.
So yeah, we just ran the shit out of them. But those guys didn't handle it, and they were never used to it. And so like all the purebred like scholarship athlete swimmers,
all the impact.
Yeah, they were done.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was the last guy there that was like a purebred swimmer type, but I wasn't good enough to like swim on a scholarship like any of the other guys that were like, like we had guys that were scholarship swimmers for real schools, and they were all tall and lanky and whatever, and they would just get destroyed on the ground. So I was the last man standing. Wow. So I was the worst best swimmer, but I was the best only swimmer remaining.
Yep.
So I would actually finish.
That's what it.
Yeah, it's just like it's just really weird. Like what
microcosm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's such a microcosm though of what like matters in the reality, right? Like I love sports, I love the competition. Like if they're set up well, right, and that seeing some humans blow away everyone else that's training that hard, and you're like, it's an incredible thing to watch,
right?
But then there's that reality where you have to have that well-rounding, and you have to have that adaptability and resilience mentally and physically, and it's fascinating when that kind of comes to the surface,
Yeah, all you do is you take a marathon runner and it's like, cool, now do it with a sandbag on. Now take a 50-pound sandbag on your back and see if you could do it. And it's like a different kind of marathon. Like the guy that was like 40th in the marathon is going to dominate that thing.
Bingo.
I mean,
exactly.
You know what I mean?
You haven't specialized that far. Yeah,
you can't be that atomized in your skill set, or you're going to get dominated. And so it was, like I said, it was really funny. Like I would get out of the pool 10 or 12 minutes before anybody else would. Like that's how far ahead I was when we would do 3,000. We'd swim 2 miles, and I would be dressed.
Oh, I love it.
I would be dressed, like boots on, like ready to go to the next thing before the next guy even hit the wall. And they would always look like I was cheating. And after the first time they checked it, and the second time they were like checking all my splits, and they're like, holy shit. Then they would start watching to see if I was actually cheating. And then they'd be like, oh no, like he's legitimately 12 minutes faster than everybody else. Like he finished at 41 minutes and the next guy got out at 53 minutes, and we'd have a 60-minute time clock.
Oh my goodness.
And like none of those guys trained for that stuff. And like, that was my jam. So I would just go dominate in there. And I can't do that anymore. Like, that was...
That's so fun.
Ago. But it is really.
Yeah, when you have the window.
When you're like the stud of the like, that's my event and I'm going to dominate. I was never the stud running. I was never the stud rucking. I was never the stud at anything, like, except like if you put us in the water. My buddy, who was the second fastest guy in my class, he was a scholarship swimmer for USC, and then he didn't like it, so he actually switched over to the crew team, and he was 6'6".
Oh wow. Dude.
So he's a monster, right? And so they would laugh. They were like, it was the equivalent of seeing a Great Dane running and a Scotty dog, and the Scotty dog was slightly faster. And so he would have like vroom, 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 kicks, and mine would be like, they were like, dude, you have a rooster tail that kicks up behind you like a freaking jet ski. It's pretty funny.
Oh, but that's so like swimming competition is different though. Like when you're part of a relay swimming, that's probably some of the funnest competition I've ever had.
Oh,
like
it's
even
super,
over like the boomerangs or other things, like a swimming relay is so awesome.
It's really, really, really cool, especially if you have a good team, and especially if your team is, if you're doing, if your guys are, if you know your stuff, people perform on relays like at higher levels than they could even perform in their individual, because like the team energy of someone wanting you to be there. It's really cool.
Amazing how that compounds when there's that team drive. Yeah, that's fascinated me for decades. And when you have that team that like really pulls together, and you realize how that performance is just like astronomically different.
Yep. Someone just leaves it in the pool and they didn't.
Team.
You're like, that guy didn't even have that.
Yeah.
On his best day, he didn't have that.
No.
But when people were relying on you,
suddenly it's a whole new thing.
We used to have a theory that the strongest guy in the room is whoever's leading out the PT. Because you've got all those eyes on you, right?
Yes. Yes.
So we would regularly take people that were failing and being like slacking in the back, and you'd make them go up and lead it out. And like their form had to dictate whether or not it even counted. And everybody was watching you. And suddenly you could do all the push-ups. Or you quit. There's two things that happen. Like some people quit, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real.
Yeah. Yeah. They just broke out of Yeah.
They just, what we called it SIE, self-initiated elimination. Some people would just be like, oh yeah, quit. That'd be cool too. But otherwise you find that you're the strongest guy in the room. So if you want to be the stud, just get up and lead it out. Make everybody put their eyes on you. You can't let them down. You can do stuff.
But I think there's such a motivation to uncover there too, because some people do have that like innate, my team, my people are relying on me. I have to do more. I have to do my utmost. Yeah. And that's a different drive than a lot of like, you see solo athletes, and I think there's a level of performance where they can be like, I'm the best. I'm going to go perform the best. Mm-hmm. And I had teammates like that. And it was like, I get you, but when we're doing our team competition, I know who's stepping up, and you're going to flake out. And it was like a wild paradox.
Yeah.
Guys
it's not
just blow away individual stuff.
It's not always the same guy, is it?
No, it's a different animal. There's a different innate motivation, whatever that is.
Yeah. Some different pathway,
let's go. Yeah.
Some neural pathway. I have a really obnoxious bot that's built into my restream, and I'm watching it hit the chat, and I think it's pissing people off now. That's been going for 2 hours. They're just like watching. It's just like, and the worst thing is whatever goes on over on the Rumble side, it actually feeds it over into the YouTube side too. So YouTube's getting doubled down. I feel bad about it.
That's awesome.
People, I recognize your pain.
On the YouTube side, like
I'm seeing it.
Follow Kyle Serapin. It's like, that's not Kyle.
Yeah, but it shows up under my name, right? It shows that it's my name saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's supposed to say Restream Bot is what I thought it would say, because I actually clicked it to say Restream Bot, but it doesn't. I don't mess with it.
Configuration.
Yeah, I don't mess with it as much as I could, and I would like to hone that in, but you don't get as much control as you want. These things give you like limited options, so do the best we can.
Exactly. They kind of funnel you down. Because I don't think any of them are all that incentivized to like facilitate the multi-streaming platforms, which is
that's what this thing sells.
It's so much better for the creator. Yeah.
So it's actually, I think on Rumble's end, I think Rumble is not cooperative. I think Restream would be happy. That's where they make their bread and butter, is offering multi-stream options.
Restream provides the I gotcha.
So Restream is I broadcast everything to Restream, and that's like my splitter, right? And so I send my signal to Restream from my broadcast software, which is up on the screen here. Here, I'll show people on the screen.
Very cool.
Check this out here. People can
you
see
don't have to run everything. That's huge.
So I use OBS, and I'm sending it out one time in one single pipeline, and it goes over to this, which is where Restream is. Restream then takes it, and here, I'll show people what it looks like. It's over here. Boom.
Okay. OBS is slick, dude. There's so many crap tools out there for that stuff. I like OBS Studio.
OBS for a free, ridiculously powerful, it's stupid capable. Mm-hmm. It's also overwhelming.
Exactly.
So I remember when I first...
it's not intuitive. Not to start. No.
It's not, but now that but now that I know how to use it, I feel like it's like people that used to program probably in like Linux, or they used to work in whatever the most core environment. I'm just like, this is just my jam. Like I can make anything happen on the screen. If I can imagine it, I can do that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun to get where the software is like a tool like that too. Like,
this is how crazy it is. So the thing that people are seeing on the screen, I don't know why I want to tell this, but the thing that you're seeing on the screen, there's a moving background. So it's all layers, right? So the moving background is just a video clip that loops, and it has to loop in such a way that it's going to go directly back to something that's not eye catching. So you can't, so it has to be an infinite loop, right? So you've got that. So we've got the infinite loop.
Yeah.
Then I lay out a bunch of frames, and the frames are transparent background, individually chopped in, squared away on the screen, whatever. And then you space it out and size them and whatever in there.
Nice.
Then I've added filters to the frame to give it a drop shadow. Okay.
Nice. Okay. Yep.
Then I have a copy of those frames on top of it that have a glow. But if you glow with the drop shadow, they eat each other up, so they don't work. So I have 2 layers, and they're actually sandwiched on it. So what's going on this screen that people are seeing right now is a moving background layer, then a lower layer of the frame with a drop. Then it has the chats, which are thrown in there, and then on top of it is another layer of frame with glow, and then the same thing for the camera. So it's like everything is actually sandwiched in there. There's about 5 layers of deep. But I imagined what it would be, and then I'm like, that's how I'm going to do it. Like, that's how you have to achieve this.
Yep.
It's the only way you can do it.
That's awesome. That's a lot of how I do photography processing now. You like layer on, and then you'll handle shadows, and you'll handle highlights, and you'll add glow, but you can't do it to all elements, right? You're picking those things to pull out.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you can't. You cannot add all the effects to all the layers at all the times, and so you have to layer them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they'll cancel each other out because the filters don't even know what to do. But anyway, so everything I do every morning is like something that at some point I evolved. You guys can actually see if you go back long enough, you can see like not only did the physical set evolve, but also my understanding of how to use the software
environment,
which is super nerdy. But I guarantee you, whenever I see somebody who like, I'll talk to people and they've been doing it for a long time, and then I'll talk to them about what I do. They're like, "Wait, how do you do that? Can I book a call with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah. I'll tell you how to do it. I don't mind. Like, share screen, tape it. It's an open book. I'm happy to teach people."
Yeah. That's so huge though, because I don't think a lot of people can discover like that and like solve it and find a path through. That takes a different problem solving nature.
You know what it is? It's just being cheap. Because theoretically, I could hire someone that could do this.
There was a motivation there. Yes.
Yeah. No, it was like this was.
I'll identify with that.
What would you call that? That's the what do they say? Necessity is the mother of innovation. Isn't that the expression?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I needed.
Yeah. There's actually.
I needed that. So.
Yeah. I've found I took I think it was a thought patterns for high performance thing through work, and it had some fascinating insights in the way the brain works, and a lot of it was just nonsense. But one of the key points I pulled out of there is like, an understanding. It actually helped me understand prayer, which is wild.
Like that.
In that, I think there's so much of it like that's getting ourselves out of the way, like getting ourselves to actually accept that we've asked for something and having the faith to believe it can happen gets us out of our own way, and then God actually does that work. But we limit, like our limiting beliefs prevent us from even recognizing if He did answer, unless we did that step. So it's prayer is fascinating. Anyway, but to your point of to solve a problem, one, you have to, like, the stronger the need is, the bigger your capacity is to solve it. Like when I got into Excel, it was like I needed to solve this for my career to go anywhere with this company. Like I wasn't getting IT help.
Yep.
It was a crazy structure. It was this or nothing, right? So you need that need, and then you have to believe there is a solution. Like you can't just go into it like, well, boy, I hope I can find something, right? You go to stream your podcast like, this is now my way of, making my income for my family. This has to work, and I'm going to do it excellently. And the path to that is solving this. And so that enables
hundreds of hours of watching videos and reading through forums and figuring out how different people solved a problem and seeing if I can replicate that or find my own way and maybe a better way. So
yes,
and this
unlocks that, and
And then the more comfortable I get with it, I'm like, oh, that's what that tool does. So when I read something, it's like, hey, like go apply a thing. And I'm like, oh, I know how to go do that. I'll just go get a plugin, and I bet I can find one that's out there. Oh, that one will probably work. And I go add it, and it's like, cool. Now I've done it. But this is the thing I've been trying to get Steve. I keep telling Steve this. Steve doesn't listen to me. I can't make my friends be like me, and I shouldn't want them to. But yeah, Steve's doing his own thing. Steve spends way more time in like methodically prepping. You can imagine that, like for his podcast.
Oh, dude.
So he's very, very specific. He probably he practices these things, and he wants certain things to look a certain way. But when it comes to the visual presentation,
I think we analyzed his approach to things. I think pretty thoroughly. One Colin. But yes,
but that's his thing. He's very methodical. He's analytical. He's an accountant by trade. And so he has a mind that solves problems.
Out of him. Like, I am prepping, I am preparing my content. This is how we're going to approach it. This is how I'm framing it, and we go, right? And he's not scripted, but he has his structure.
Yeah, way more structured than I am. I go grab a bunch of stuff that I know is interesting to me, that I think makes sense in a certain order, and then we'll see if it still makes sense to me when I start doing it.
Yeah. And part of the art is the fluidity of that, or like as you refer to it, right? Like you let the spirit lead in that.
Yes.
And that's how he works. But yeah, it's fascinating how that works for different people. Like, yeah.
But the other thing is that I have to have my space. I have to have my control of the environment. Like it has to be, I want my,
because it's creative and on the fly and focus and it requires, I think I'm tracking with that.
It requires so much mental energy. Like when I'm done, I'm always hungry because I'm burning a bunch of calories doing what I do. It doesn't seem like, it doesn't probably look from the, that's the funniest thing. Like I've never like analyzed this on my own, but like it makes sense. Like I'm constantly making mental leaps. Not only am I presenting the physical thing, which is on the screen, and I'm pushing the buttons to make that happen, but I'm also linking
all that processing.
I'm trying to remember. I used to write down what number it was, but it's like, okay, how did that clip begin? Like, what was the first word in it that I might want to trigger into, or I'm going to try to like link into? So I'm constantly like, and I've got 20 something video clips on here, and I don't use every clip every day. Like I'll grab 20 clips and I'll only use 16 of them because some just don't fit when I try to get to it. I'm like, I don't know why I would play that right now. And I'll always have 4 or 5 slides or articles that I don't get to as well. I'm like, no. I could easily do 2.5, 3 hours if I was just freewheeling.
Well,
so that's pretty funny.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's so weird.
But it's so fun too, because even when you have something like doesn't pop out of like clip or something, you're just like, oh, that didn't work. Let's do this. Like, and it all comes together.
It used to make me panic, and now it's kind of like if you felt like some bumpy air, then you just know that it's not a robot up there flying the plane. It's the pilot, and we just hit some turbulence.
I gotta adjust this.
Yeah, I got this.
Absolutely. No, I could see the tension hit you sometimes early on, and I'd be like, Kyle, relax. But when something goes wrong and you're not in control, technically, like that's difficult to like stomach, turn, and still do.
It used to it used to make me nuts, and now it's like whatever. Like I got, and here's the other thing though. It's like everything else in the world. If you show up, what do they say? Like in your first couple years, you're trying to figure out how it works, and at some point in time, you move into that journeyman space, right? Like so you. You have a process.
Now you're flow state.
Yeah, flow state, and you're refining that process on a daily basis, and you're finding new things. So it's gotten to the point where it's fun. It used to make me like I used to get like butterfly like shit, I don't know if this is gonna fly. Like every day was like because I didn't know if the technology was gonna work because that was all new. I didn't know if the actual message was gonna fly. Now there's kind of a system to it, and if I stepped outside of it, it's like that's okay. I don't care. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I could do it on the fly.
You could solve the small. Yeah.
There's
a few more waves today.
We just got the solar generator. It just got shipped in. I didn't want to go get it because I knew I'd spend all night putting it together. But we're going to have battery backup and we're going to have solar generator so I could literally run this entire thing for a couple hours if I had to. Just kind of
That looks like a really solid system. Like I went through the specs of that, the 3300, and it looks very solid because I was comparing like weight ratios, and there's a system out there that I'd seen some YouTubers like growing bananas in greenhouses in Canada or something like, and they had like I think it was blue lights or something.
Okay.
Very much Chinesium and whatever. And, but no, I liked what I saw from the My Patriot Supply because, specs look really good. And it was, I got their power bank just to kind of test out how the batteries were and see how that goes. So I picked that up.
Nice.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Let me know. Yeah. Let me know your feedback on it. I'll be interested. I
cool.
Talk to the folks that are like the brand managers because now it's grown to the point where they actually, they're very profitable as a company. And when we were talking about it, it's like they grew a lot of the stuff they did. The reason why they do their food in house. This is like some of the conversations that we've had on the back end, and they're like, you can use this in the freewheeling kind of ad lib part of the ad reads or not. But they're like, we basically went out there and found that everybody was getting screwed over on the value and the types of products. They were inferior and they were charging too much for what it was. And so they saw seed vaults, and the seed vaults were like completely screwing people on cost, and the value was not there.
Wild.
So these guys are like, okay, well, let's go out there and build something that we would want and try to sell it for a price that we think is fair, where we can still make a profit on it. And then because they
I
made
love
so
that.
much doing it that they were able to like go like, okay, we're going to get vertical. They basically got vertical on any product line that they wanted to get involved with. So whether they either designed it to their specs or they actually own the manufacturing. Like as far as I understand, they actually own the manufacturing for all the food that they do. Like all the process is 100% in-house.
That's massive.
Yeah, so it's
Because
streamlined.
the food to me is, I haven't even looked because we have a freeze dryer, right?
Right.
But I like the quality difference in freeze drying your food and eating other packaged freeze dried food. It is.
They said everybody was doing fillers and crap, and they were like they would do all their when they would do their QC on it, they were just getting like so much shit. And so they decided like we're just going to have to basically start from inception, otherwise we're not going to be able to control the quality of the product to the end.
That's wild.
So they moved in. So that's what they do, and I think they have 3 different warehouses that they operate out of in the US. So they have pretty quick shipping. But it basically like it's like kind of like building out of necessity.
Yeah, and so I looked through their like seed packet because I was browsing and checking them out, right? And I'm like, it's wild to go like heirloom seeds, and I'm like, oh, I grow that. Detroit red beets, yep. And like seeing like they were putting up very legit and strategic things you were growing. It wasn't just here's your victory garden. It was a good selection, so it kind of gave me more confidence in what they were doing.
It seems like they, like I said, they for me it was cost per calorie as well. They had the highest value when it came cost per calorie, which I look at, and I'm analytical. Like on I want to be affirmed when I go buy. Like I always have buyer's remorse, and I'm always like, oh, did I make a good choice? I'm out there looking at generators and shit like that when I was at Costco this weekend, and I'm like, oh, did I pull the trigger on the right one? And the answer is like it doesn't. Like at the end of the day, does it really matter? Probably not. Do I have to have like top everything for everything? No. You have no idea how neurotic I was about buying my truck. I lost my ever-loving mind. Like I was dancing between dollars and features and feature packages and off-road stuff that I'll never use, and then also the year, because they had different transmissions that were available on the different trucks and all. And I was just like, I was all nerding out about it. And I ended up I got to the point where I spoke F250, F350 fluently, like. Somebody would be like I'm looking at a 2023 F350, and I'd be like, oh, what off-road package? And they'd be like, it's the FX4, and I'm like, okay. And then I'd be like, how many miles? And they'd be like 60, and then they'd be like, I'd be like, is it a Lariat? And they'd be like, it's a King Ranch. And I was like, oh, cool. So like, what about 74,000?
Nice.
And they're like, yeah. I like dialed it in within like $2,000. I actually did this because I had access to the auction sites. I actually bought my truck through a dealer auction.
Oh yeah.
My buddy gave me access on the back end.
Oh.
And so I watched a bunch of these auctions. Yeah. I shit you not. I watched like 300 trucks get sold off, and I predicted the amount that they would sell for within about $1,500. And then I went and picked mine.
Awesome.
And then I picked out 10 of the ones that I wanted. And some of them had some like X Factor stuff. They were like, like some specialized off-road package that had like a, trim or whatever else that you couldn't, they were made by like an aftermarket company came in.
Not stock.
Yeah. And so you're like, okay. One of them was like a Roush. It was like one of a kind. So you don't know what they're going to go for. And they would have a price premium that I couldn't predict. And if it went outside of my range of what I would spend, then I like backed out of it. But I had 10 auctions. I bid on 7 of them and I won the last one, which was the best deal of all of them. But I knew exactly where I was out. And so I was actively bidding against like a couple of different, and all the ones I bid on, all of the major off-road companies that were selling them aftermarket in the United States were bidding on the same ones that I was, because they were the best trucks. Like cosmetically and for reliability. Like I watched that the same bidders were available, the same dealerships were available on all the ones that I were. And I looked at their inventory, and their inventory was like, I would drive every one of their trucks. Like all of them looked badass. That's what I wanted.
Wow.
So I ended up getting exactly at my dollar amount. And I bought the truck that I wanted for like exactly as much as I was willing to pay. But like, seriously, I think I bid on like 7 or 8 of them that day.
That's epic.
And I had 2 more to go if I screwed up, and I would have still got a pretty good truck. So it's pretty funny.
Well, it makes no sense. Like it's such a significant investment. Like that's a aside from house, right? That's like your next biggest thing for a lot of people. So
it's the most expensive thing outside of a house I've ever bought, and it was really, really uncomfortable doing it.
Wild. I am like, I literally outsourced that to my wife. Like, go scour for a truck, and like she found something. Like, great, we're doing it. So she did the heavy lifting for me.
Yes, I'm that person for my wife.
I'll be happy regardless.
For sure.
Like, it's awesome.
I'm that person in our house. My wife would be like, you're not going to, like, my wife will constantly, she would be worried that I would not think it was the right thing, and she probably would be right. So, like, it's just better.
Yeah. Like,
we fulfill our roles.
Yeah. We all know our strengths, Plato. Yeah.
I actually walked in.
Other, boy, that helps.
When I bought our minivan, I rolled in there. We had a Tiguan that I had detailed the living hell out of, and it was in awesome shape, and it was the best possible Tiguan for a high school graduating girl. It was all the safety features that you'd have in a VW, but it was a cloth interior, so base level interior, but it was a 4-wheel drive. Yep. So you rarely saw those.
Nice. Yeah.
And so I rolled in, and the guy's like, and I detailed it up, and I was ready to sell it, like private party if I had to. And I go and I'm like, hey, I want this minivan. And the guy's like, oh, and he was like, okay, well, this is the sticker on it. And I go, no, this is the sticker that was online. And they're like, that's not the price we're selling it for. And I'm like, that's why I'm here. So like, I can go home. I don't care. And he's like, oh, well, don't go yet. And he's like, let me talk about it. But he's like, Honda put that number out there and we can't match that. Like, we're not going to make any money on it. And I'm like, that's not my problem. That's the price. I'm either willing to pay it or not. I don't.
This is how it is.
Yeah. Like I'm into it or not into it.
If you won't make money in it, you won't actually do this.
Right. And so the guy was like, yeah. And the guy was like, and then he was like, well, do you have like a trade or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And then he's like, what do you have? And I'm like, I have the Tiguan outside. And he was like, how much are you looking for from it? And I said, 10,000. And he goes, ooh, I don't know if we can do that. We might be able to get like 7,500. And I'm like, here's what's going to happen. If you want to sell me the minivan for that price, I'll buy it. If you want to buy my car from me for 10,000, I'll sell it to you for 10,000. If you want, I'll drive it home and then I'll sell it for 12,000 this week, maybe tomorrow. Like, you're going to turn around and market it. I said, you're going to sell it for like $12,000 to $14,000 tomorrow. You don't have to do anything to it. And he was like, that's not how it works. I'm like, did you look at it? And he's like, no. I'm like, go out and look at it. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm on the phone with my wife and I'm like, and they're like, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I might get out of here in a minute. He walks out there and he like writes on a piece of paper, like, we'll do 10,000. And I'm like, yeah, of course you will. And so then he was like, we can, awesome. We can do your minivan for that price. And I was like, cool. And he was like,
keeps their cars like this.
Yeah. And then he was like, how, do you want to, what do you want to finance? And I'm like, I'm writing you a check. And they're like, what? And I was like, I'll write you a check for the minivan, like right now. And they were like, okay.
There goes the financing angle.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, I'm done. Yep. Here's the price. I'm out.
Yep.
See you later.
Yep.
Yep. And they let me drive home with it before I even had the check. That was the weirdest thing in the world. I was like,
dude, that's wild.
They ran my credit and they were like, yeah, you're good for it. Like, you just bring us a check sometime in the next couple of days. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I will.
Dude, that's awesome. Yep.
It's really weird.
Exactly. That's wild.
Yeah. What day is
I like it.
Renzo says that's how you negotiate. Renzo's into it.
That is how you work through sales right there. Like, I'm educated enough to know what the value proposition is. You and I are going to talk real turkey. We're not playing games, and you tell me if it's worth it to you.
When I went to go buy the Ford, I went to a dealership and I was looking at a brand new Ford, or I was looking at one that was like a year old. I was looking at 150s originally. And I came to a truck and I was like, this is a great looking truck. I like the color. It's got the package I want. Like, all of it's good to go. I'm like, what's the number? The guy tells me and I'm like, great. I'm like, cool. Like write it up. And he goes and he writes it up and he adds in like $2,000 for like paint treatment and another $1,000 for like window tint and $780 for etching on the door. So it saves you from anti-theft bullshit. And they added like $4,000 or $5,000 onto it at the end of it. And I looked at him and I was like, I think it was like 3,800 and change plus tax. And I was like, dude, that's not what we talked about. And he was like, well, these are like already on the vehicle. And I'm like, it's not on the sticker and I don't want to pay them. So take them off if you want to sell me the truck. And he's like, well, that's not really how it works. I go, let me ask you a question. And he's like, what's that? I was like, I don't want to ask you how much you make, but let me just ask you this. If you were going to go buy something and then someone tacked on another 10%, like, I don't know, like $4,000 on a $50,000 truck, like, do you have $4,000 extra? Do you have $4,000 extra for this thing? And he was like, well, I'm like, seriously, if someone just told you the price and then they gave you 10% more for no reason, would you be doing that deal either? So if you guys want to, I was like, I'm going to go home. And I did. I was like, I'll go home. And if you guys want to fix this, call me and apologize and tell me that you want to do the right price. And then the sales manager was like, well,
and don't try to pull bait and switch.
Yeah.
Standard. Yeah.
The sales manager ended up reaching out and was like, well, we can't really do this, but we could do this. And I'm like, I'm not interested anymore. Thank you. I've moved on. I'm going to go spend more money somewhere else.
I love it.
And I did.
I love it.
I went and spent more money somewhere else. Screw them.
Yep. No, it's huge. You see it through so many industries too. Like the contractors, like, oh, we'll win the bid at low, and then we'll get them in the extras. And like, dude, I don't know what your sales process is, but that's
that is a recipe for having a really, really mad, pissed off customer. And if you get the right one, they're gonna eat your lunch.
Yep, they will, right, dude? The law is on the client side there.
I got into a pissing match over the freaking company. I was like thinking maybe they would even be a good sponsor at some point because I kind of like the product. I think like it's expensive, but it's American made. It's a veteran company. Like all this stuff was really good. It's this company, Johnny Slicks.
Oh, gotcha.
And I was like, cool. Like I'm going to try them out. I'm going to buy them with my own cash. And if I like them, I might approach them and see if they want to do some advertising with us. And if they don't, no big deal either. But I ordered up their thing. They sent me the stuff. I set up for the subscription. I bumped it back. And 6 months later, they sent me the next thing. And I was like, not even halfway through the bottle of shampoo and stuff like that. And that was fine. It was on me. It was 6 months, but like I go through stuff very slowly. So I'm like, oh, okay. And the next time they didn't give me the heads up and they sent it to me at 3 months and they sent me the thing saying, we're about to ship your stuff. And I was like, whoa, don't ship my stuff. I still have this. I have the thing from 6 months and I'm not even through that. I'm not even through the first order. So bump it back on my behalf. And the lady was like, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Our system is automated. And I was like, bullshit, you emailed me. Like, don't send it. What do you mean it's automated?
Exactly.
I'm like, you're about to charge me $100. I was like, I promise you this, lady. If you can't cancel this order for $100, I'm going to cost you way more than $100. I was like, I have 300,000 followers across 5 platforms. Like, I will make a stink about this. I will make a video of what a piece of shit company you are simply because I'm irritated that you said you couldn't fix it. And I'm going to include your emails.
Yes.
She was like, sorry, nothing I can do. And then I did.
Sorry, it's the computer. Like, oh, get real.
You know what? Even if only a few thousand people saw it, some of them didn't buy your product because you were dumb. So I guarantee it cost them more than $100.
Yeah. How to build a bad reputation.
The best was quickly. I found a video of them.
Wild. Like companies.
I found a video of them talking about how you got to take care of your companies. Yeah, well, they even have an entire video about how they take care of their customers, and I just played that and I showed all the emails. Like, fuck you, people.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
I'm so vindictive.
It comes down to the actions, right? Like you're going to do right by your customer. There is a value proposition that's mutually beneficial, and you can find that and be in that sweet spot. And you look out for people's interests, and you explain to them when their expectations aren't realistic. Okay, but. No, there's so many just shady things and then people come in with their guard up because they've been screwed before. People are shady. Like that's.
I used to go and I would do this thing when I worked for Dell. I sold about $20 million worth of Dell computers when I was working there, 18 months or so worth of work. So it's one of my other little lives that I lived, right? And people would come in on the phone and they were seriously pissed off. They had bought like one of our cheapest printers, which was a cheap LaserJet. It was like a $100 printer, and it came with like very, very like an intro ink cartridge, and they had to buy ink cartridges, and they didn't buy it, so they didn't have it. So they're freaking flipping mad because they don't have an ink cartridge, and they went to tech support, and they got somebody in India, and they punched buttons, and they ended up in sales, and so they would get to me. And so like I've got a pissed off customer on the line. I'm working business sales, and I only make money if I'm making sales, right? So that's my situation.
Yeah.
So the phone ring, and I pick it up, and I'd be like, like Dell Business, Kyle, what can we build for you? And the guy would be like, I'm trying to work on this thing. And he'd be pissed off. And so he would like start saying some things. And I would go, sir, sounds like you've got a tech support issue. And he was like, I just talked to effing tech support. And I go, all right. I said, here's my proposition. I have a value proposition to offer you. You let me know what you think. I said, I'm willing to listen to you bitch at me for about 60 seconds. And at the end of 60 seconds, you have to make a decision. If you want me to solve your problem, then I'll do it. And if you don't, then I'm going to send you back to talk to somebody in India because you can talk to them. They like to hear people yell. And if you want to skip the 60 seconds of yelling, you can just tell me very simply, I will solve your problem right now. Would you like to do that? And they'd be like, well, how are you going to solve this problem? And it's like 60 seconds is on the clock. And they would go, well, okay. Well, what are you going to do about this? And I'm like, did you buy the, blah, 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 $99 printer? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, are you frustrated because you got not a lot of ink? You got the introductory ink cartridge. And they're like, yes. And I'm like, cool. Did your salesperson tell you that you were supposed to buy ink for it? He was like, I don't really remember. I'm like, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they did. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you didn't understand what that meant. Here's what's going to happen next. I'm going to send you a full-size cartridge for free. Okay? I'm looking at your account right now. I'm going to also give you my direct phone number. And when you need to make a computer purchase or software or technology or anything else, I'd like you to call me directly and I'd like to do the sale. Can I earn your business right now?
That is awesome.
And they were like,
That
you're
is
going to
awesome.
so what do I owe you today? I'm like, you owe me nothing. I'm going to send you the cartridge and we're going to eat the cost. It's like a $80 value, but like obviously that's not our cost. So it's going to cost us less. We're going to buy your business because we're going to do the right thing for you right now. And we're going to solve your problem. Are you into that? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, go ahead and write my number down. I was like, I'm going to send you an email with my number as well. Is that okay with you? I'm like, yep. I'd get a call back like 2-3 months later and they buy $10,000 worth of equipment, you know?
Bingo. Yep.
It's like, dude, I'm just going to solve your problem. Like, let's just solve what's going on in front of you right now. You're pissed. I'm not. It cost me $40 or $50 to buy your $10,000 sale in a couple of months. Done.
Yep.
Sold. Every time.
Oh, that's huge.
You know, and I would also, and then sometimes people would just keep yelling and I would just be like, I hope you got your shots. You're going to go to the banks of the Bangalore. And I'd send them off to India because they were being assholes. So that was also kind of funny.
And because you don't really want that customer long term anyway, because maybe they wouldn't be happy regardless. Right?
Yeah, no, like those people were just like, listen, if I give you an offer that I'm going to solve your problem and you don't take me up on it, like you're nuts.
Then you're not in control. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't.
Exactly.
You're having
awesome.
an emotional reaction to something that is business and that is not emotional. And it's like, all right, I'm just going to look long term and I'm just going to win your business by being the best at what I do, which is that I know the thing. The other thing I would do is I would tell people, I'd be like, all right, what are you looking to do? What kind of business do you have? And they'd say, well, I'm looking for this and that. And I was like, well, if you do me a favor, like this is what I do for a living. What I'd like to know is what your budget is, what you're hoping to accomplish with it, and then like what your time frame is. And so then they would start telling me what they do, and I would build the system on the back end of it. Right. And so then they would tell me what their budget was. And I was like, all right, here's the deal. The system that you're describing that you want is going to cost you this much. The system that what you said you can afford is a slightly lower model. So here's where we're going to have to compromise. We're going to have to compromise on a couple things. Now, there's ways you can save some money on software. I can tell you how to do that if you like. We don't make any money on it, but I'd rather make the sale than not. I'd rather get 80% of the sale than 100% of nothing. So let me know if that's interesting to you. But otherwise, if you want to bump up and get the thing that you're used to, like you want the Microsoft whatever suite, it's going to cost you another $200. We can make that happen. You can buy it now or later. If you want to finance it, I've got options for you to help you out. So I would give them that. I'd be like, but I just want to set your expectation. Yeah. You can't have the thing you want. And by the way, I also configured it over at HP, and I've also done the same configure. You're not going to find it cheaper. Our pricing is the same. So I've got that here. I've dialed it out to equal specs. Exactly. And this is also something that'll grow with you. And by the way, if you want something that's only going to work for 6 months, I can actually save you some money there too, but you're going to end up being obsolete probably 6 months to a year, in which case we'll have this conversation again next year. So if you want something for like 1 to 2, 3 years, I just tell them that.
You're working the value proposition for them. Yeah. Right. And that message to that client is now, I'm valued enough that they're actually looking out for my interests and not just telling me, well, here's a way to spend less money. It's like, well, you may not be happy with this situation. If you tell me you are, okay, great. But in 2 years, you're going to experience this. Like Yeah.
And it's like,
that's
look, you could
get that message too.
Yeah, you could buy once, cry once, or you could buy a cheap solution. If you're somebody who can do disposable and you're going to just do it once a year, there are people that do that, and then they're going to hand it off to their kid. And cool. Like if you just need just want to, what do they call it? What is that? There's a schedule that you could write them off on your home business. And it's like, if that's what you do, cool. Then so.
Yeah.
179. If you want to put it on the 179 deduction, and you're just going to do it annually, and you're going to depreciate it all up front, and then you're going to hand it off someone, like knock yourself out. But
so be it. You have a different ROI than I do, but that's fine. That's your proposition.
I'll work with you.
I love it.
I had fun doing stuff like that.
That's huge. I in our sales process, like it's wild, but I'm in kitchen and bath design, right? But so much of it is if I can get them to talk budget with me, we cut through so much BS. If they won't really go there, we're probably, we
lost him. We lost Dan. You think he hung up or his phone died, folks? It's been a long one. You guys just got to eavesdrop in on the long conversation with our buddy. All right. Well, I think we're going to probably call it a night. I hope you guys enjoyed listening for that one. That was fun for me. It's nice talking to him. Let's do a couple of things here. First of all, if you want to write to the show and you want to send us anything now that you're sitting here listening all night and jamming some of these tunes, the phone number, sorry, not the phone number. The address for the P.O. Box is 9073 State Highway 29, Suite 110, Box 509. It's in Liberty Hill, Texas, 78642. Do not send any live animals. You can send me postcards if you like. You can send me written thoughts. You can send me your best barbecue capabilities, whatever. Yeah, I'm guessing his phone died too, Rose. Anyhow, that's the P.O. Box. very nice seeing you guys send some nice letters and things like that. Some of them are notes from my wife, which is also pretty cool. You guys want the Tony video? I'll get you the Tony video. Stand by, guys. I have to go dig it up, but I'll get it for you. Got you. We'll end on a high note here. Let's see where I keep that. There it is. All right, my weirdo friends. We'll give you guys the Ezekiel Tony conversation, and we'll shut this down. Thanks for hanging with us for as long as we did, and I'll see you guys for Friendly Friday in the morning. Steve Friend will be there. He'll be all warmed up. Here's your favorite.
What's your name? What? What is your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony! What's your name? Ezekiel! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! Fuck you! Hey, you know what I did last night? You better not bring my mother into this! You know what I did? You better not! I broke that fly over there! Oh! And I found your mother next to it! Fuck you, Ezekiel! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.